That's also false. I'm not eating anything. You lying fucking son of a bitch.
It's true. An error occurred. Please try again later. Playback ID DU3UC-I5XHQ0.
It should be live.
Illuminating.
I think you have that bug that I occasionally have. Yeah, it's live.
I really love modern day error codes. They mean absolutely nothing to anyone. Like, at least back in the... Okay, so CNC machinery has a whole library of error codes, but it's basically a shorthand. So the computer doesn't have to tell you what it's fucking up. And you're supposed to go to the manual to go like, okay, what does this mean? And then the manual also won't tell you what's wrong, but at least you'll have a better indication. Error codes.
Error codes are fun.
I hate them.
Don't worry. I'm sure that there aren't any techs that actually know them. All they do is plunk them into a search database. Like, what this one mean?
Pretty much. Like, it's when your computer, like, blue screens and it says, like, DCP watchdog exception or something, and you're like, fuck, the FBI finally found my porn folder.
Oh, they're like, well, this is interesting here. It says you have a plethora of lollies here. Uh-oh.
Lollies are not human, Kyle.
Only if you're not human.
We should maybe see. So it's the Thor thing, which will be a fairly brief one. It's the transformation of Twitter. There's Bob Iger. We should see if we can't touch upon the Pixie thing too, because that was a whole fucking heap and heck. Where so first people thought that Pixie was being shut down because they were hosting Lolly, which doesn't turn out to be the case. Apparently, people were embedding QR codes leading to child porn in images.
Yeah, you'd be surprised with what people can do, sadly. It's kind of fucking tragic. Like, an image file can be a host of things inside of it that you just don't know. Or even on the picture.
It was quite the thing. We'll see if I remember thinking about that one, because I need to pull up some other sources on that one in case we cover it. Yep. That was a thing. Yeah, most surely so. It also, of course, means that Pixiv is going to get completely fucking gutted now as the credit card companies have their claws in, but such is life.
That's fine. That's how that always goes.
Alright, a couple of super chats before we start here. Alex Hoffman says, hello everyone, how are my favorite YouTubers doing? I'm fine, kind of fat.
I'm fine, not fat.
I'm actually finer than usual. See, okay, there's a lot of trash on Amazon, okay, but I do half of my Christmas shopping on there because I'm too lazy to leave my house. And on a whim, I bought this weird thing. It's like slime, made in China, so probably created from the burned corpses of Wuhan people at this point.
Crispy.
But it's used to, like, you turn off your computer and you smush it down into your keyboard and it sucks up all of the gunk. And I was skeptical, but it actually did clean out my keyboard. It also told me how much horrible shit was in my keyboard, incidentally, but such is life.
That's just how it goes sometimes.
Sure. Particularly as I got one of those mechanical keyboards with the removable keys too, so you can theoretically switch them out, but it also means there are enormous gaps into which shit can fall.
Well, maybe you can plunk them off and quickly, take a pressurized air cannon, gone, all the dust.
That would be effort, Kyle. Whereas I can take the desiccated corpses of Wuhan individuals and simply smush it into my keyboard.
Barge, was it you? I think it was you. It was either you or Artemis who's like, Kyle, I have so much money, I'm just going to buy a new keyboard. You don't clean it, you just buy a new one.
I actually do have a backup keyboard I could use, but...
Oh my god, it is you.
It's effort to go and unpack it.
So I could just, throw this one in the dumpster, honestly. It's got a little dirt on it.
The Lexus says, what wars to call Barch or Swedish adjacents? What wars to call? What worse to call?
Yep, you have to translate them sometimes.
Wow. Thank you very much for the 50. Very generous. Even if your spelling's a bit difficult.
What's
worse to call? Barch or Swedish adjacent?
You could call him, a mountain monkey. Like, that would hurt his feelings a little bit.
That's what the Danes calls us, which is just Kyle admitting to be a Dane, a fucking flat.
Firstly, I didn't know
he lives in Minnesota, too. It's like, snow is blowing across the road. Oh, no.
Good.
Meanwhile, in Norway, 5 meters.
Sometimes you just can't go through the roads. If a dune goes over it, you're like, "Whoa, that's not accessible."
I fucking drove in columns behind fucking snowplows over here. Oh,
snow plows. Your Norwegian accent's slipping because you're angry. His inner mountain monkey is coming out. Back
and
to
Alex
vehicles.
Hoffman says, "Do you mind shout out a YouTube who is a fan?" Cretosis?
Yeah.
Cretosis?
I'll pull him up.
Cretosis? Great guy and his friends are my tops. They do modern media reviews and watch other videos and give criticism.
They're
React channels.
furries.
Damn.
I think I found it. 4.5k subscribers. I'll send you a link here. But we can judge them harshly as they're probably furries. It's over.
If it's a reaction channel, they're worse than furries.
Oof. It doesn't look necessarily. Fallout 3 isn't better than you think. And then just like thought pieces on video games, I think. And you got what? Reaction and discussion. I mean, we sort of did that with Rings of Power.
The only reason we did that is because reaction plays better with the YouTube algorithm, so I put it in the text.
All right,
it's true.
It's a channel. There's Fallout 1, pretty based. I don't know what that is because that's too old. And I think that's Morrowind. And it's some sort of Japanese thing. And that's New Vegas.
Fallout 1 has a great tutorial where if you pick the wrong build, the starting enemies will just fucking eat you ad infinitum.
The best part I love is when you take low int and you just talk to the fucking what do you call him? The overlord of the fucking vault, and he's like, "You go find water chip, don't come back," or something like that, because you're an idiot. He's trying to walk you through the steps.
At least there was a good reason for why they would pick you.
They sent you on a suicide mission.
Having wandered around aimlessly enough to waste some time and allow people to join in, Chris Hemsworth. All right, so Chris here is not as based as Henry Cavill, it must be said. As the bounding into comics people here are taking some creative liberties with his wording. So what was meant to happen? In an interview, he was talking about how his contract had now run out with Marvel, so he didn't know if they were going to do any more Thor, or if they were going to do any more Thor, they were going to do it with him. But he also mentioned quite specifically that he didn't want to work with any more mad geniuses, as he said, referring quite specifically, therefore, to Taika Waititi's, or whatever the hell you pronounce that name as.
Uh-huh. I take it these are self-proclaimed mad geniuses. Like, wouldn't it be great if we, like, subverted the audience's expectation and make this show not about Thor, but we, completely emasculate him in front of another character? That's pretty smart, I think.
Kinda. In fact, there was another recent podcast with another Marvel producer who mentioned him and basically explained that they didn't hire people who were fans of their franchises or settings. In fact, the guy viewed that as a red flag, and he wanted instead to hire people who were from outside of the fandom, specifically because when then they came into it, nothing was sacred, and they would try to, screw with it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because they don't have any respect for the IP, and they want to make their mark. It's more about them inserting themselves into the mix rather than respecting the work that came before.
Yes, and it's also the idea that for some reason, and this is popular in all forms of entertainment now, you're not supposed to make something for the fans, for the people who watch the stuff. Like, it used to be the idea of the wider audience. Like, Creative Assembly has been on this bandwagon for the last decade plus now, where they're actively trying to make the thing less for the people they have and more for the people they don't, in the hopes of enticing them to join in. In the case of Marvel Entertainment, it's been more of a self-masturbatory thing, really, where the guy who's making the newest Nemo movie, which is his official name now,
Nemo.
He specifically said that he didn't want to do Atlantis because he didn't understand like they're Greco-Roman. I'm like, yeah, that's literally the legend, correct? And it's like, that's boring. I want to do Mexicans. Like, okay.
Well, then ask to be in a different movie about the
Marvel
Aztlan myth or whatever.
Marvel pays very good.
Oh my god! So they wanted to change it to be
it's just
Mexicans.
The last in a long line of people who don't want to make what they're being hired to make. And the last couple of Thor movies too, like Thor has undergone some drastic tonal changes, shall we say. Like, the first Thor movie was very much so an establishing kind of movie. A lot of fish out of... Well, not actually. It had some fish out of water stuff, with Thor arriving in our world and being, like, confused by fucking toasters and shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it was fundamentally a story about Thor proving himself worthy to pick up the hammer again. Now, I kind of dislike the movie from the basis that it does that whole the superhero can't be super until the last 5 minutes of the fucking show thing. But it wasn't awful. Like, it was okay. And it set a relatively good tone for Thor. There was a bit of humor, but it was also relatively serious. And his love relationship with a woman who eventually dies from cancer because reasons was just that. It was a love relationship between two people of relatively equal standing. But ever since then, Thor has been turned into the butt of the joke. And it kind of started with him pseudo losing to the Hulk in one of the Avengers movies, but he didn't lose outright either. It was a decent fight between the two of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, he's just gotten weaker to the point where in what was it? The Ragnarok? Was Ragnarok, I think. He gets his ass kicked by a bunch of fucking random scavengers. And it's not like he's lost his powers or anything. And then the Valkyrie shows up and zaps him with a taser and knocks him out. Then he's put in prison. Like, some fucking rento.
Yep. They've effectively changed who his character is. Because I'm going to poke at something here, but look at the promotional material for those pictures I sent you. Like, between Thor Ragnarok and Thor The Dark World. And notice the focus on how the focus of the movies have changed, as well as the color palettes. Like, the original Thor movies, well, I wasn't the biggest fan of them. They were focused on Thor. Thor was the main character. He was the hero. He was the protagonist. He was epic. He was badass. He had a powerful hammer, and he saved the day. The recent Thor movies, he's kind of like a side character in his own story. Like, other characters are doing a lot more of the work than he is, and he's not really the main focus. He's just there as what I would call window dressing, wouldn't you say?
He's a part of it, and that's about it. And
yep.
Like, this started with The Dark World, which was a pretty bad movie. And that's also where I believe that Thor's star basically plummeted, and he became just this kind of B-movie character for the establishment at Marvel who just didn't care about him anymore.
Yep. The first Thor movie felt like they were trying to make him into something, but then Dark World, which is that poster, you can still see what they're going for there. But Dark World itself, he did feel like kind of a lame duck. Like, his competency level dropped like a rock. And that was to allow Loki to do his schemes in that one.
Yeah, because Marvel likes Loki a lot more than they do Thor.
Yep, because Loki's fun, comedic. This is the problem with the Marvel formula. You have to have a joke every 5 minutes, you know? Because otherwise the audience will not be able to pay attention, you know, because they're all ADHD. Oh, that cover...
Like, to be honest, some of the jokes do hit. Like the Rock dude, for example, in Ragnarok, he was okay. Like, that was a decent amount of comedic nonsense, I guess. Loki is all right. You can't make any jokes at Valkyrie's expense, of course, you know, because black woman. And the goats, I did love the goats because they were such a fucking out of nowhere retarded thing, and I kind of sympathize with the pitch of Love and Thunder. This kind of like almost 80-ish style rock adventure thing. Like, the movie's nothing like that at all, and the initial sequence has Thor actually kicking ass for once, and then he becomes a weak-ass pussy right thereafter. It's like they pitched the entire movie based on the first 5 minutes, and then they were just kind of sitting there like, right, now what?
Now what do we do? We got the 5-minute hook. I've seen too many movies and too many games where the 15-minute hook is where all the effort and attention is put, and you're like, wow, this is really exciting. And then as you play it or watch it, it gets progressively more boring, because it's like they put all their work in that 15-minute hook so that I would sit here, didn't they? Those assholes.
Yeah, that was the thing too. The power shift in the relationship as well. So I'll send you another one here from Comic-Con, which I think is perfectly illustrative of this. Where, to begin with, the relationship between Thor and Jane was fairly equal. It was two people mutually attracted to one another who had a relationship and different worlds, blah, 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 classical bullshit. Huh? But now, Thor is just a lovesick fucking puppy child who is desperate for Jane's slightest attention. Whereas Jane actually becomes Thor Thorella, who knows? And she literally gets Mjolnir, the sign of who is worthy. That's her now. In fact, apparently the hammer spurns Thor, like it's some jealous lover or something.
It's like they don't care about the character, and it's easier to make a mockery of the character and parade it around as a joke than it is to actually respect the character and make it cool. They did the same thing to Iron Man as the series went on too, where Iron Man got progressively more like dumb and stupid to the point where he destroyed all of his suits for the sake of a girl. This is a trend that has been pretty much universal throughout the Marvelverse, if you will, and when it comes to their cinematic stuff, where it's like always like degrading the main character to the point where they either die or are supplanted by someone else. Very much so.
I mean, even because the power balance is constantly changing as well. Like, there was the Doctor Strange movie, like Metaverse of Madness or some such idiocy.
Never watched it, so I don't know much about it.
It actually had some halfway decent semi-horror-esque elements, which I kind of liked, but it also makes the Scarlet Witch like the most powerful thing in the entire universe. And that's the problem with Marvel, in that everyone's the most powerful thing in the entire fucking universe.
Listen, if the movie's about them, normally that's the case. Normally.
Like, even, like, Thor. Thor is a fucking god. And he's fighting alongside the Avengers against randos. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Like, power. Okay, that establishes the power levels. That Thor is probably stronger than Captain America, but not significantly so. And then it just went retarded from there.
Yep, but that's... I don't know if they necessarily ever thought about, like, okay, what are the power levels of each character and how should they work together as a team? Like, what's Thor's strengths and stuff like that? Because it does feel like when I saw those movies that they just sort of do things in scenes for the sake of it looks cool rather than thinking about what that implicates that character's power level is, you know? And that's the problem when you have superhero level characters, these colossal like heroes that are, you know, incredibly powerful. You put them side by side, you should start to see some sort of hierarchy be established, but you should also see, you know, what their strengths are and how they work together. That's something I never really saw in the Marvel movies too much, where it often just felt like everybody's next to each other, fighting next to each other because it looks cool, and it's like, oh, look at all the heroes coming together for a big battle. But they're not really doing too much with their strengths, which is kind of lame.
Mm-hmm. It's also the fact that they've done that to all the other characters too. Like, even Hulk. Even Hulk is now the second fiddle to She-Hulk.
Yep. Which is again, that's back to the trend we mentioned before. The female cast is supplanting the male cast in pretty much all of their own movies and their own superhero stuff. It's a trend that seems to be ongoing. And there is a politically motivated, thing behind it, too. I can almost guarantee you. Because most of the heroes this happens to are what? What are they?
The old heroes. The male heroes.
Not only the old and male, but they're all, like, white. Like, they all have to be supplanted. Because I guarantee you, had the fucking Wakanda dude not died, which, rip, but I guarantee you they would never have done it to him.
Mm-hmm. No, they wouldn't. They would not. And so, what Chris Hemsworth was talking about was that he kind of saw him. He wanted to perhaps play more Thor, but he wanted it to be more like the original Thor, a more serious version of Thor. Now, again, this isn't quite the Chad move of Henry Cavill, who has basically demanded that he play Superman and that he play proper Superman because he had. Well, basically, he had the gravitas to do so because he's got The Rock in his corner now. And The Rock is one of those Hollywood darlings at the moment.
Yep, he's earned a lot of respect.
Better or worse.
I mean, in this case, getting him on his side for this particular instance is a good thing. Because I think everybody can agree that we want to see return to form, where heroes are heroes again. And if you want to do something dark and, like, edgy and whatnot, that's fine, that's great. But maybe make a new story instead of, bending a character backwards and snapping their spinal column to make them fit in your little L-shaped hole there. Or it's like, I want the character to be sad, depressed, and weak. And it's like, okay, you're going to do that to Superman? It's like, yes.
Well, see, there's kind of the issue too, isn't it? Which leads us kind of neatly into the Bob Iger thing, because they have kind of been trying a little bit. So Thor needs to be Thor, makes sense. If they're going to let him be Thor, I doubt it, because they tried something very interesting recently. Strange World. Have you heard or seen anything of this abomination?
No, the name sounds familiar, but that's because the Star Trek thing we watched, not whatever this is.
So this is Disney's big play to try and make like a new universe style thing, and specifically to make it a diverse universe. Like they were pushing these characters a lot to be kind of the new mainline characters, And it is painfully diverse. Like, the main character is gay. There's black people everywhere. I don't think there's a white person in the show. Or maybe, no, there's one fat dude who's the white dude. There you go. So there's one. There's lesbians aplenty. The dog is disabled, apparently. Because, of course, it is.
I think I understand now why I've never heard of this. Because nobody cares.
And that is very much so the case, as well as it has apparently bombed like nobody's business at the box office. Like,
good, fuck them.
Nobody was talked into seeing this over the pitch, which is just stupid, weird shit and gay people in space. Like, okay.
Somebody's fetish because they couldn't stop jerking off to their script. Got it. Because the sexuality of a character is only as important if it matters to who they couple with. Beyond that, it really doesn't matter, and nobody really should care. Because a person is not defined by their sexuality, and if you are, then you're so hollow, you're literally a plank, and I don't want to ever hear about your character like that, because that's just not interesting.
It was an enormous flop, and it was one of their attempts to create their new heroes, in a way. Like, this is what... Marvel's been trying this forever now, to try and make the new characters popular, and they just can't. I mean, they even... this was years ago now, but we have, like, minutes from a Marvel board meeting where they simply straight up said, like, yeah, no, none of the new characters are selling, because nobody's interested.
Isn't that funny? And... you know what's interesting? None of their characters are selling. Yet how many little indie creators have we met? Like that comic lady, not that long ago. And her comic is selling like, hot candy. Like, it's just going out of business. Like, not going out of business, sorry. Wrong analogy. But it's like selling faster than basically you can print them. And all you got to do is make attractive, beautiful, interesting characters. People like to look at good-looking characters. It's okay to have, occasionally a fat guy like, Ned from fucking Jurassic Park because it's funny, but not everybody wants to look at, gay, bi, trans, whatever characters. Like, who fucking cares? That's not interesting, is it? Do you want to look at trans characters all day? What's your power? I'm trans. Oh, okay. You have a disability. Got it. Write that down.
And as the point of order, that that woman thing was Rini.
Mm-hmm. Rini Weenie.
I appreciate your efforts to.
Names are, names are hard for me. Shut the fuck up. They always have been.
This is Disney was kind of trying to do this. Well, they've been trying a lot with Star Wars too, to turn the characters into something they aren't, but they've been failing horribly. And that is also why we now have the return of Bob Iger, kind of out of nowhere, and yet also seemingly inevitable in its own retarded way, as his predecessor was not doing particularly well. Now, was he?
No. I can't even remember what the name of his the other guy is.
I'll send you Bob Chapek is his name.
Oh yes.
I'll send you the link here. Yep.
Didn't
Bob,
he get ejected?
The bald guy.
Yeah, these websites support our journalism. No.
See, it's amusing to say no, just to hammer it home.
I'm just gonna take the picture. How about that? How about that? I'm not gonna give you some money. Fuck off. Okay, there we go. Got it up.
Mm-hmm. So, Bob Chapek was brought in as Iger's... They're both Bob. Okay, so Bob was brought in to replace Bob, and Bob had handpicked Bob for the job, all right? But Bob turned out to be shit at the job, because Bob had seen incredible growth over at Disney. Like, Bob had picked up, Star Wars, he'd picked up Marvel, he'd picked up Pixar, I believe, too.
Yep. A lot of great business moves. However, he ran all of those things into the ground somehow. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, he managed to centralize all of these enormous creative forces, and he managed to reduce and denigrate the overwhelming majority of them. Like, Marvel today is a shadow of it once was. Like, and the thing is too, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was an enormous success and more than paid for itself, so great business move. But it's also completely exhausted the Marvel brand to the point where it's not interesting to people anymore. Same with Lucasfilm and Star Wars. Like Star Wars fatigue, which they figured they'd fix by giving us Andor, that fucking piece of shit show.
See, I don't buy into the fatigue nonsense. That's just an excuse, and I think you agree with that too. No one's fatigued with Star Wars or Marvel. People are sick of shit content, and they just can't make anything good.
Fatigue, isn't it? It's like the simple solution to Star Wars fatigue is to make good Star Wars, but
they can't.
It's hard, I guess.
Apparently, isn't that tragic? Star Wars, which is not really science fiction, it's more like a science fantasy, right? It's basically like, fucking wizards in space. It's not going to be too hard to do. You're not going to need to do too much research in order to make it good. Yet somehow they have managed to not only destroy the entire setting by literally decanonizing everything, which was what needed to be done in order to, like, sort the bad from the good, thanks to fucking Fatso Lucas, but they did it in such a horrific way that they decanonized everything good about the universe, like Kyle Katarn and so on, and they then decided to just replace those same characters, Kyle Katarn, with a black dude in the new Star Wars. Or just like this guy, the guy, how they got the plans, some Rogue One happened, and then throw in some like literally shallow like reference to Darth Vader, and just to use him as window dressing. It's like they don't care about the setting anymore, and I don't think they ever did.
They have managed to reduce a $4 billion investment there to a net loss, despite all of the TV series and all of the movies. The only one that's still doing all right is Pixar, and Pixar's not doing great either. Like, Lightyear was an enormous flop. Turning Red is a weird... I don't know what to describe that even as.
Turning Red. What is Turning Red? Oh, no.
Yes.
That movie.
Indeed.
Okay, hold on. I'm pulling it up for
indeed.
chat because I didn't watch it, but I heard about it, and it's like some scorned like bitch who's like mad at her mom made this movie to just be like, I don't like you, mom. It's like, what the fuck? Oh, that's all right. This picture will say it all, chat. Just look at this horrific art style. You know, I'm just gonna pull up the fucking Google search. Yeah, look at that fucking bean mouth freak. Yeah, no, that was another movie that just sort of was like, it was made to appeal to literally no one in real life, and it didn't do well. All their movies are absolute disasters.
They've also been desperately appealing to the minorities recently. There was Luca, Soul, that fucking one with the dead Mexicans, which I can't remember the name of now.
Didn't they end up lashing out at the Mexicans for that one, which is weird?
Yeah, the Mexicans didn't like it because, well, it kind of took the piss out of their entire mythos, but, you know, such is life.
Maybe you should, hire people from Mexico to actually make a movie if you want to have about them. But that's not what they want, though.
I think, like, their recent successes, like Toy Story 4 did well financially. Incredibles 2 as well. And what? Like, Cars? Like, we got to go back, like, 5 years at that point.
Ah, The Incredibles. The first one was so good, it didn't need a sequel. And then they did. I was like, no, why? Toy Story is another one of those. That's pretty good.
Even Pixar is not the gold mine it once was, by any stretch of the imagination.
Pixar literally made films that were literally made of gold. Like, they were so... You can watch them. And yeah, some of the CG is dated, but they're pretty timeless classics, wouldn't you say? Like, you'd be really willing to show that to your, like, nieces or your children, if you ever have any. Be like, hey, you want to watch, a good movie? Because I'm trying to imagine that, if anyone has kids and any fathers in chat. Would you want to show any of your children the modern trash like this? Or are you just going to literally feed them everything from the 90s and early 2000s? Because I think it's going to be the 90s and 2000s, honestly.
Not a very good thing there. But the thing is, too, Bob Chapek didn't really do particularly well over at Disney, and there are suggestions now, after multiple Disney Plus failures in particular, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and She-Hulk, etc., which bombed horribly, that he was apparently messing around with the finances to try and make it look less disastrous than it was.
Yeah. But it was a complete disaster. And imagine the embarrassment of this whole debacle, too. Like, the guy who handpicked him to replace Bob, is now coming back to kick Bob out and basically clean up the shit storm he's made behind him.
Yes. No, I don't think Bob is going to be Disney's savior, though, because you gotta remember, too, okay, Chapek was the one who made Disney a fully political entity.
Yep.
Kind of. Like, it was already heading in that direction. And there are some interesting little back and forth rumors. I'll send you another article here, where some people are suggesting that he was trying to pull back on the woke because he refused for the longest time to comment on the Florida bill, which the left calls the Don't Say Gay bill, and the right calls the Responsible Parenting bill.
Very different.
And he got a remarkable amount of blowback on that. And there's also been some people suggesting that he was trying to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy or kill some of the more obviously woke programs. Who the hell knows? But it certainly didn't become a less woke company under his rule. And Bob Iger isn't going to make it a less woke company either, because it was under him that literally all of this started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not something that they can fix. Even if this old Bob comes back and tries to restore things back to the way they were, I think the issue here is that they're going to fundamentally need to do more or less what Elon Musk did with Twitter, and massive firings, and literally need changing leadership, because the leadership itself has been corrupted at this point.
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? So, Twitter's resurgence is another topic for today. I'll send you the tweet here, because Twitter has been a very different entity, and some of the things that Elon is doing is quite sweeping and drastic. Because you mentioned, okay, if Disney is indeed infested, if Marvel is indeed infested, so on and so on, right? It's going to need a full purge from practically the top to the bottom, which is what Elon has been doing. He's fired, I think, to begin with, it was 50% of the people who worked there. Now he's been firing even more people, with some numbers suggesting 70% plus of the workforce having been let go. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to point out that Twitter is still running fine for some reason, despite 70% of the workers not being there anymore.
I can't even tell the difference, to be honest, other than the fact that...
Exactly.
Well, actually, wait, there's one difference. I think we both noticed it. An increase of followers and an increase in responses to tweets and stuff we send out. It's almost like, any sort of shadow bans or any sort of, little things have been sort of lifted.
Yes, a drastic one, too. Because there was... He's trying to rule by public decree a little bit. So first, of course, he had the poll where he's asking whether or not Trump should be let back on Twitter, which Trump won by a very small margin. I'm surprised he did win it at all, frankly, considering Twitter's general leanings. But he had a second one, which is far more obvious. Should Twitter offer a general amnesty to suspend their account, provided they have not broken the law or engaged in egregious spam, with 72% saying yes.
The vast majority of people. Yep. Because I think a lot of people do feel that the moderation was extremely harsh, and it did feel that sometimes completely arbitrary. Now, we did have times where they actually, banned people for doing something actually generally wrong, but at the same time, it also felt like they were a little too on the ban-happy side. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Always felt that way.
There is also, now granted, this poll is way smaller than the Trump one, as it got only 3.1 million votes, compared to the 14.57 or something of the Trump one.
And God only knows how many of those were real. It's true. You have to think about that.
I want to, yeah. But clearly, this is what is needed: mass fucking purges. Now, the chat said they're also Bob Iger is the one who made Disney woke. Bob Chappell was fired just as he was about to start damned firings. I see. That's the thing here too. Is I've heard lots about that, because the problem is it's also been that one of those rumors for the last 2 years now. How many times have we heard that Kathleen Kennedy is finally on the hook to be out the door?
How many YouTubers have said that? Yeah, because that is something I remember seeing in my feed for the longest time, where it'd be this YouTuber would be like, Kathleen Kennedy, this is it, she's finally done it, she's finally gone, and then literally a little bit later nothing happens. All of this wishful thinking stuff, because everyone's trying to be oh, well, surely she'll go now. No. The problem is nepotism, and the other issue is connections. They have way too much. They're so integrated that cutting them out would require you to cut out all the other cancer as well. What Arch just said literally just a few seconds ago, a purge. You need to, in order to remove people like that, tumors like that, you have to cut out all the cancer and anything affected by that corruption.
Now, you could also argue that that was also what happened, that old Bob was brought in kind of out of nowhere to replace new Bob so quickly because they were afraid that he would start cutting. I doubt we'll ever know for sure.
Mm-hmm. And chat does say that, she was installed by Lucas. And some people are like, she backstabbed Lucas and this and that. But I'd also like to point out that while Lucas, worked on Star Wars, some of the best Star Wars work was not done by him, was done by other people. And also that Lucas himself never really seemed to care about the setting he made too much. Like, that's just a criticism I've always had for him. It had some interesting ideas, but it always felt like he didn't really have respect for his own setting and just sort of did what he wanted because he could. And take that for what it's worth.
I think the fact that he appointed Kathleen Kennedy because he was convinced that she would do right by his setting tells us everything we need to know about Lucas's character judgment abilities.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. Like, a lot of the good things...
Maybe she was just a woman to him, batted her eyelashes like, oh, Daddy Lucas, I'll totally not rape your entire franchise.
It's entirely possible that happened, but until we know more details about it, and until Lucas were to ever come out, like, the problem is... Yeah, I don't think so. Well, Lucas is also a mega leftoid, though, but, like, so everything sort of adds up when you start to think about it. Paints a very clear picture. Ooh, what kind of characters he hung around.
Yep, I don't think... I mean, again, like, a lot of people worship George Lucas, but he also did create the Ewoks.
That's true. The best Star Wars movie, in my opinion, of all time was Empire Strikes Back. Is one of the reasons why it's the best might have to be because Lucas had the least amount of influence over that film. And it turned out to be better.
Lucas gave us the greatest Sith Lord, Darth Jar Jar. True.
Apparently that's literally what he wanted to go for, and that itself speaks volumes, okay?
Oh, okay. I will need to comment on that too, because the chat says, Lucas wrote Star Wars as a left-leaning setting. There's a bloody interview of him stating this view. There's also a bloody interview of him stating that it was a classic hero's journey inspired by Japanese movies. George Lucas has said a lot of things.
Yes, he flip-flops a lot. If you're familiar with a game developer by the name of Peter Molyneux, look at George Lucas and look at him, and you'll start to see some similarities. They speak a lot, they say a lot of things, but not every time do they line up the same stories every time. That's the problem with Lucas. Lucas is a bit of a liar. Actually, no. He's actually a liar. He claimed at one point that he had come up with Star Wars and it was like this always supposed to be this big epic. That was a lie. He bet against his own movie because he didn't think it was going to do well and that nobody would like it. Like, it was a fluke success, and there's a lot of things that saved it, both the actors, John Williams' music, the editing teams did a fantastic job, and a lot of good decisions that came in because of other people around him. I think George Lucas had some really cool ideas, but I think not enough credit is given to the other people on the team. And also, I like to point out that when you have a developer like, Kojima or like George Lucas that name a studio after themselves, that just kind of feels a little narcissistic and isn't a very good sign, honestly.
No, Kyle. Naming things Archtopia is not only appropriate, it is the only answer.
You mean Archistan? You will never be Utopia.
Archistan as well, occasionally. Depends on how religious the setting is.
Depends on... Fair enough.
But no, and there's also the thing that... You remember The Matrix as well? Because you gotta remember, it's popular now, or it appeared popular, to say that you were on the right side of history. The Matrix was always intended to be an allegory of transness.
Which is false.
The line made by the Wachowski sisters now, remember?
Yep, because they're revising their previous works. You see a lot of artists do this as time goes on, because they're trying to stay relevant still. In their circles and their spheres.
It's the same with... that Dutch dude's take on Starship Troopers. Because a lot of the time, people will try to do a thing, like make Starship Troopers a satire of fascism, and then they will entirely fail to do so, which is why I look at the product and judge what it is, rather than what the person who made it tells me it is. Like, in this case, the death of the author is absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like if Arch and I were to make a movie, right, and we were like, oh, it's a science fiction movie. But, like, there's just wizards casting spells, and everyone's like, it's not science fiction, that's a fantasy movie. And we're like, no.
We make the Lord of the Rings, but we change the opening scene so that it zooms in from space.
It's like, see, there was a space scene, so it's set in space. It's like, oh my god. Like, everyone's just going to pinch the bridge of their nose and be like, they're retarded. And people will call it for what it really is.
Yes, thank you, chat.
Yeah.
Paul Verfucking-Hoven. Jesus. But yeah, like, so, to get back to the idea of the transformation of Twitter, the general amnesty thing, right? So, Twitter has seen a significant rise in usership, at least if we believe the stats that Elon has posted, which, to be fair, he's in a perfect position to fake those stats if he wanted to. But, like, I doubt it, who knows? But usership seems to be up, and so-called hate speech impressions appear to be down, because hate speech was never really a problem on Twitter to begin with. There was that hilarious little spike, though. I'll send you that link too, with that massive spike there, where everybody on 4chan was like, "Let's post the N-word and see what happens," which was funny, mind you. But all of the people too, all of the leftovers who were like, "Oh God, we're gonna move to Mastodon now."
Yeah, okay, good luck.
Didn't
have
turn
fun.
out that well.
And they're already coming back at the same time. You know what's fascinating? This is something I've seen from people that I follow that are like try to be like edgy with their memes. A lot of them are actually sad about Ellen taking over because like now I'm no longer edgy anymore when I post the N-word. Now I can just sort of do it.
Mm-hmm. There was also this beautiful discovery where he discovered all of the #StayWoke t-shirts at Twitter. I sent you that one too. Which had just been tucked away in a closet somewhere because nobody wanted them. Like, they've still got the sales tags on them.
Jesus Christ, stay woke. I mean, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's kind of beautiful. And a bunch of left-wing accounts have also recently been suspended because, well, back in the day, they were allowed to be edgy because the rules didn't apply to them. Now that the rules do apply to them, people like Ethan Klein are suddenly evaporating by the dozens.
And thank God for that. Twitter has become a better place, honestly, hasn't it? You don't ever have to see an Ethan Klein post anymore because he's banned. And then he got banned on that other account too, so just like, less cancer.
A question in chat asking, what is Mastodon? Mastodon is a very interesting place.
I like the word, but it's a very shitty social media network. Isn't Mastodon the place where the leftoids actually arrived and people were calling them N-words and telling them to piss off?
See, the funny part is Mastodon is where the actual hard right moved ages ago when they were purged from Twitter. And now that the Twitterati are moving to Mastodon, they are suddenly discovering a great deal of people who
hate them.
Yes. Pretty much. It was an interesting thing, to be sure.
Chat says that Mastodon's also a pretty neat band. Oh, the more you know.
There was George Takei, who knows?
I think
he's a person.
Is he banned?
And also a rapist, I've heard, but I don't know enough about that. So,
well, I hope not, because that would sully a lot of the work.
Oh, don't worry, he sullies the work himself.
He does. That's why I muted his account, so I'd never. It's the same with that fucking nutcase Mark Hamill. Like, I muted that account as well. Like, I don't want to see like that.
Oh, yeah, there it is. George Takei told Howard Stern he grabbed men's genitals to get them to have sex. Yes.
Ooh. Didn't need to hear that. Gonna be a lot harder to play Red Alert 3 now.
Well, Kyle, there you go. So apparently that was a thing he did.
Why would you do that? Why can't you just ask for consent? Why is it always these same people that have this problem? There are more fish in the sea. Gravity crickets.
But he went to Mastodon too and started tweeting as usual, or mastodoning, or God only knows.
Mastodoning.
And suddenly he gets yelled at a lot.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm sure he'll get back on Twitter soon enough.
Some people are kind of skittish.
Poor George Takei. But the exodus there's also the lack of the shadow banning is obvious, to put it mildly. Like, it's everyone I know has said that they've seen massive increases in engagement and followers and every single metric that exists. So if there ever was any doubt as to whether or not Twitter had shadow banning, I think it has been fully dispelled at this point.
Yep, it was real. It did exist, and they did do it. Which honestly just speaks volumes, you know? It is nice to feel vindicated, isn't it, for Arch? You feel very happy. I was right.
It is. Though I will also say a little bit of the anti masquerades here as well. So there was also announced, this was before the general amnesty post, so maybe this has changed now, but Elon said quite specifically that Alex Jones' account would not be restored. Again, that was before the general amnesty, so who knows? But the reason why that was not because of the lawsuit, like many people speculated, or because of anything surrounding it. Elon just doesn't like Alex Jones, appears to be the reason.
Yep. Also, another thing to remember about Elon Musk is, well, he is doing a lot of things I like. He has a lot of beliefs that I firmly disagree with, like his obsession with green energy and like nuclear and petroleum sort of stances with what he thinks about technology. There's other things too. And I think Razor Lad did a good video on that too, talking about the fact that, remember who he is and the fact that he will, and in the past has kowtowed to like other people before on the left and then the Chinese.
Like, he still is, but it's also been very interesting to kind of see the way he tweets after picking up Twitter. Like, he tweeted out, "What do you think about the culture war?" a few days ago, for example.
Yep, I saw that. Which is an interesting tweet, to say the least, because leftoids like to keep that on the down under. They don't like to talk about it.
Yep, I sent you that one too. And I think he didn't understand the scale of the problem. We talked about this with Sargon and V and Dev and everybody else, but he probably picked up Twitter and thought to himself like, oh, well, it's just a social media platform. It's not going to be that bad. And then he actually got into office and every single news channel, every single media outlet, every single government on the earth suddenly started threatening him and digging up dirt on him. Like,
It reminded me of when Trump ran for office in 2016. Where he went from being like a popular, person to being like loathed by everyone and denounced by everyone.
Yes, so it's not at all impossible, shall we say, that he's having a bit of his own waking up moment right now. That he's being radicalized, as they put it.
Well, we'll have to see. But, I mean, that's just people in general. Sometimes, at least with Musk, at least it seems fair when it comes to certain things. I think that the banning of Jonesy Boy is a little bit much and was wrong from the beginning. But, it is unironically his platform.
Unironically.
He can do what he wants.
He has given us other interesting things, like Kanye West's 2024 presidential run. I sent you that one too.
Oh God, that's real.
That is real. That is not a joke, Kyle. That is a thing that is happening.
What if Trump and him team up? That would be the dream team.
Well, that was the interesting thing. Does the name Nick Fuentes mean anything to you?
Artemis has told me that name a few times. I don't remember if it was in relation to some other thing. Tell me, bad or good? That'll narrow it down a little bit. I think bad. I feel uncomfortable with that name for some reason.
Nick Fuentes is also known as the Catboy Lover.
Ah. Disgusting abomination. Got it.
Nick Fuentes has some lore on him, shall we say?
We don't need to recount that lore. No. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. No.
Yeah, I see the chat knows. Yes.
Yeah. No.
All right.
Cringe.
We got to bring up at least one of the old classic shots here. Here you go, Tom.
No. Oh, that is that's which one's Nick?
The one not wearing cat ears, I believe.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. There's lore.
No. We don't need
There's
to hear.
lore in this here. There's quite a lot of lore here.
No.
But apparently, Kanye West went to Mar-a-Lago with Nick Fuentes to have dinner with Trump.
Oh, what? I mean, like, serious, like, that actually did happen?
Yeah, I'll send you the article right here. Kanye, joined by Holocaust denier. That's the least of his crimes, to be entirely honest with you. Nick Fuentes at Mar-a-Lago. And this comes from Kanye's Twitter account itself. Yeah.
Okie dokie.
He was also considering. I don't know if this was serious, but he was apparently considering Milo Yiannopoulos as either a running mate or as his campaign manager or something like that.
Ooh. See, that would be hilarious as a running mate for the pure purpose of you could be like, well, you're not, you know, what do you call it, homophobic, are you?
Oh, Milo's not gay anymore.
Oh, we had a character arc. Okay.
Yes, Milo is now rather famous for saying conversion therapy worked on me.
Oh.
Yes,
didn't
this
know.
is...
The world is changing faster than I am paying attention to it. I've disconnected myself from this.
Story, some plotline advancements here. So, yeah, I don't really know what to make of this.
Oh, chat says he can't run because he's Brit-born, so he's a foreigner.
There you go. So he can't be a running mate then. So it was like a campaign manager or something. But yeah, they went to dinner at Mar-a-Lago, and they had dinner with Trump. And so Donald Trump has now sat opposite Nick Fuentes, hopefully not wearing the Nekomimis, at dinner with Kanye West on the other end.
I just can't picture that on Trump's head, but at the same time I can, which is the worst part. I don't want to.
Yeah, this is an interesting time to be alive, and that's for sure. This is what happens when you allow Twitter to become legal again, shall we say? When everyone can use Twitter to say the craziest things, which thank God they can, we get fantastic shit like this. And I will say this: I don't think Kanye has a very good chance of becoming president. Crazier things have happened, I suppose. But if nothing else, he could certainly be a very interesting candidate. He'd be funny. There's no doubt about that.
That would be...
Apparently, Chapped is saying that Fuentes disavowed Trump because Trump disavowed him. I mean, if I was Trump, I probably would disavow too. Frankly.
That's probably the smart move, honestly. Jesus Christ.
Maybe we are in an interesting timeline. I'm also wondering where Kanye is going to get the money to run from. Like, I wonder how serious this is, or if it's just a Kanye moment. Who knows? Because a couple of years ago, Kanye could have financed his own presidential run. But now that he's merely a millionaire, well, it's going to be a bit harder, I suppose.
Well, when only you're a millionaire, you know. Life gets tough. But that does mean, actually, that his influence is going to shrink quite considerably. So you have to think about the bigger picture.
Yes, the bigger picture, Kyle. Look at that picture. That's a big picture.
Actually, it's kind of tiny, all things considered. Like, vertically speaking, yes.
It would be.
Yeezy in the house.
Pretty awesome.
My God, people are gonna look back at this point in history and go like, "What the fuck were they doing?" It's like, listen, it's all we could do. It's all... Judgeth not, you do not understand.
I don't think anybody understands this.
We live in a very...
I'm pretty sure nobody does.
Chat's pointing out how clown the world is, and honestly, I'm at that point too right now. I'm like, this is kind of just like we're all over the place in terms of silliness now.
Yeah, no, we're pretty deep down the rabbit hole. We really are.
I wonder how the Romans felt when they had emperors, change every day, and some were forced to be emperor against their will.
Well, I point you back to that video Sargon did about America being the modern day Rome, and he does look more and more correct by the day. As I don't know if this is an exact parallel to Caligula appointing his horse as a chat counselor, but not necessarily far from it.
Listen, sometimes, compared to the other bureaucrats, a horse could be incredibly intelligent.
Yes, sometimes doing nothing is better than doing anything at all. But there's also the sent you another one. Elon Musk backs Ron DeSantis, follower enemy of the woke agenda for U.S. president. So Ron DeSantis is another very interesting prospect because I don't know. Trump might be getting screwed now to the point where there is no way forward for him. Whereas DeSantis is kind of the figure I predicted when Trump was first running for office. Namely that you will have the buffoon, and then you will have the guy who sees that what he's doing is working, and then decides to copy it, but intelligently.
Honestly, from what I've seen of DeSantis and his anti-woke nature and everything, honestly, that would be a good thing for the culture war, more or less. It finally is to start actual genuine purges of, woke elements, so we can start getting back to normal would be nice.
Yes, because, frankly, as much as I love the Trumpolophagus, he didn't do much in his 4 years.
He wasn't harsher on China, which is one of the biggest criticisms I had for him. Not nearly harsh enough on China.
Like, on the one hand, he achieved some genuinely impressive shit, like
he did.
Actually getting to go to North Korea and having a talk with Little Rocket Man. Like, he kept Russia still for 4 years, which ended the moment the Lich entered office.
That's true.
The man probably did more for world peace than any other U.S. leader in the last decade, easy.
Mm-hmm. No, I think Trump was definitely a strong leader, especially what it could have been. The Republican lineup at the time, and not only the Republican lineup, but what the Democrats had to offer, was not a strong leadership, to say the least. You had a bloody warmonger on the other side that was running against him. So it's honestly a very good thing that he did win, and it's actually a shame that he didn't, win for whatever reason that I cannot say the second time around. But DeSantis, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about him, but everything I've always heard about him when he was curb stomping Disney, like that earned some brownie points with me.
But did he crush down on the media? He didn't. Did he reform Section 230? He didn't. Did he crack down on social media? He didn't. Like, he failed to take any real actions against the establishment he was railing against. And in large parts, I do believe that was because they could flatter him. Like, we know how, what was it? Was it Jack at Twitter or Facebook? That went to him, said how great he was, and Trump talked about this afterwards, how he had long phone calls with them. And they were like, oh, Trump, you're so great, you're so great. And he didn't do anything to them.
Yep, he can easily have his ego stroked, and that's the problem with human nature. Because people can go up to somebody, and, any day, like we go up to Coconut Tackle over there and be like, Coconut Tackle, you're a really great guy. And then behind closed doors be like, fuck Coconut Tackle. What a piece of shit. And then actively sabotage them behind closed doors. And that's the problem, is people, and especially people in power, are two-faced. There's what they'll tell you to your face, and then there's what they'll say to the people they actually trust.
Yep. But I will also say that I think it's going to have to be Trump the next turn around, simply because he is the leading candidate. I think DeSantis would be better off laying low for another cycle and essentially building up that goodwill, because he's already done the correct thing. Because Trump was throwing some shade at him, what call it, sanctimonious or something like that. And DeSantis said nothing in return. He's just like, yeah, no, I'm just going to ignore that because I'm not going to get in a shouting match with Trump. I'm going to lose.
Not only that, but the issue with, quote-unquote, our side, the right-leaning side, the side that I follow, is that everyone's an idiot and a moron, and everybody will constantly attack each other. Versus the leftards will always they'll be quiet about it. They'll fight and bicker, but they'll wait and they'll do it behind closed doors, and they never do it openly. They stay very unified, which is something that I think the Republican side seriously suffers from.
That's the thing. The left will disagree on dogma all day, every day, but when it comes to being tyrannical fuckwits, they all agree. Meanwhile, the right, we have a tendency to... We're too principled, to put it straight up. Like, we will bicker on the niceties, the details, and we will get hung up over that. And we also won't quite be as aggressive when we are in power, which is, again, the fault of Trump. He should have been a lot harder.
He should have been.
But DeSantis will be interesting. But I think he needs more time to build himself up. Like, yes, he did amazingly in Florida, but that does not mean that he'll do well in Michigan or Texas or Ohio or, the other states in the union.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, what I hope DeSantis is on the right track here, because if he can just get Trump to come around to his perspective by just simply, taking it on the chin, and that sucks, but just be like, okay, get his endorsement when it comes time for him, because that could help. That would swing people over to him.
Yep. Now, the chat all says Trump DeSantis 2024. I don't think it's a bad idea.
That would be
I think it would probably be the best option, because who the fuck else is going to be Trump's running mate? Like, Mike Pence was only picked because he was considered a milquetoast conservative, which wasn't much of a risk. The only thing... it's not going to be Kanye. Like, as fucking funny as it would be, like, it would be political suicide. It would be. Like,
yeah,
come on.
It would be political suicide.
Like, Trump says some silly shit, but Kanye...
I mean, it would be the meme of the century, though. Like, unironically.
Yeah. Coconut Tackle says, too, that's the problem I was going to point out. It would be the best option, but neither will bend the knee. That's what I fear. Now, I think DeSantis is probably the more reasonable of the two. Bearing in mind, I don't know a whole lot about the guy from a personal perspective. But it would be beneficial for him to tie himself to MAGA, I think. Because Republicans need the MAGA voters right now. Because for better or worse, the Republican Party has kind of been split in half between the forever Trumpers and the never Trumpers.
Yeah, this is like one thing that was good about Trump coming along is that he did shake up the established Republican side, because the decadency had really set in before him. Like, fuck the Bushes.
Yes.
Oh, those were awful years. But everything's been terrible for so goddamn long, and on both parties. Like, we need to see something on the leftoid side as well. But they need their own Trump to come in and break up their establishment, because we really need new blood and we need new ideas. Like, we have too much of these old oligarchic families. We need to eject these oligarchs. We need to get rid of these dynastic families that have begun to build up like tumors inside the system, and actually get people on either side that actually care about putting the nation's interests first and putting our nation above, above fucking corporate greed and other backroom deals and bullshit.
Yes. It'll be an interesting election. Presuming it'll be elections at all.
Presuming a lot, yes.
Yes. Presuming many, many things. But I also did want to talk about the whole Pixiv thing a little bit. because it's a briefer topic to talk about, but it's also a rather interesting one. I've been trying to find a
proper article. If not, I would not recommend opening Pixiv's site, because you never know with their website.
No, but Pixiv has quite a lot of raunchy art on it. Yes.
It does. There's a lot of porn and hentai on there. And some of the most... Like, there is no censors, which, honestly, I prefer that over anything else. The fact that artists can create whatever they want.
There used to be no censors. They've kind of changed that up a little bit.
Right, that's why we're talking about it. You wouldn't be talking about it if it was actually fine.
I could probably use Sankaku Complex. They probably have an article on it that isn't too full of porn. It says, okay, so for those of you who do not know, okay, that one will work. And I'll send this one over to you, and just check that the filters are on, I guess, before you pull it up on screen.
Yeah, I'm not opening it on the...
Because Pixiv is a artist community, and it's a Japanese artist community, which means it has avoided most of the restrictions placed upon everybody else.
I'm just going to leave the window like this, okay? Chat, this is for your protection and Arches, mostly Arches.
Yes. Which has been remarkably free of most of the censorship, like Carl said. On Pixiv, you can find gore, you can find rape, you can find lolly, shooter, everything in between, and worse shit still. And that is fine. That is entirely fine, because it doesn't show it to you. Like, if you go on Pixiv and you have a new account and you've never been there before, it's kind of like going on Twitter. It'll show you basic bitch art, because the majority of Pixiv is basic bitch art. There's even a special tab you have to turn on to even see the erotic stuff, you know? But you can also find anything and everything there. They recently, a while before this, they introduced a diversity and inclusion pledge as well, which is brilliant.
Mega cringe, but okay.
Yep. That was granted on the English version, so it might have simply been like a couple of English staffers running the pseudo-functional English part of Pixiv, going like, well, you know, we gotta. Who put that out? Because Pixiv didn't really change after that. But then they started offering payment options. So artists could put out their works, right? And you could purchase them off them. So they would have like premium tier stuff, which is also fine, you know. Shit isn't free. We have gotten way too used to everything being free, with no regard for the fact that it costs time and effort and money in tools and software to make this shit.
With Pixiv, I think there would be an easy solution. The implementation of simple advertisements on the sidebars and whatnot should generate them some ad revenue from clicks, because Pixiv is a very well-trafficked website, if I had to wager a fucking guess. And I have no doubt that a couple of ad placements on the sidebars or the top will definitely pay itself back into a healthy little profit.
Yeah, and they've also got Pixiv Premium, which has the same problem like so many other premium services, in that it offers absolutely nothing worthwhile. It's like, here's a slightly better search tool. Like, okay, but when am I ever going to need that? But they offer up these premium options, and they also offered stuff like artist requests. So if the artist is open for it, you can send them a request and basically get them to do a commission for you, which is a really cool service and something that I'm thinking of making use of myself in the future. Not for bespoke pornography, mind you, although that would be funny too, I guess.
No,
because it is an enormous community of artists, and I'm sure there are people on there that would be fantastic assets to our various projects, for example.
Mm-hmm. There's always great places to look at. Pixiv is one place, Twitter is another. All these platforms serve a role, and even DeviantArt to a degree. Any of these platforms where artists post their portfolios is basically a great place to look at for finding new artists.
I picked up Dan from DeviantArt.
Mm-hmm. That's where I found Sala. A lot of our art leads are actually from DeviantArt, unironically, because there's so many artists there. They're sitting there, you know, putting little pictures up, and nobody looks. despite their art being so incredibly amazing, but because there are so many artists and there's no oversaturation in the market, some fall to the wayside and aren't very good at promoting themselves. And thank God that artists are terrible at self-promotion, because most artists are bad at it, which means that finding them and picking them up is so easy because they're like, money. It's like, yes, follow me into the box, into the...
And again, that's the thing again. Pixiv gets thousands of entries every day. Like, art is less than a dime a dozen. And then AI art came along, and now Pixiv has an entire category for AI art. And then came the real clever thing, you see, because people then realized that, hold on, okay, so we've got a way to send data to other people here with a transaction system. So, what happened was that Pixiv suddenly started cracking down on sales of certain things. And to begin with, it seemed like this was the credit card companies cracking down on Pixiv. And their original statement did not do them any favors, because they added out the idea that they would police things of a distasteful nature, etc. So they did a list of things you could no longer sell, which is the Patreon list: incest, bestiality, sexual exploitation of a minor, which is an interesting idea of describing a drawing, in my opinion, but, you know, drawings are children as well.
Isn't that interesting, mind you? So creative works can have whatever because they're fictitious in nature, right? Nobody's really hurt. Like, Jon Snow's not a real character. All the characters in the Game of Thrones stories are just fake people. They are not real. They're just ideas. And these stories have horrible things happen to younger characters all the time. Yet, for some reason, these same people that are okay with that happening in that form of fictitious literature or even cinematography get also upset over, like, a doodle on a piece of paper, when fundamentally speaking they're the same thing. They're both not real. They're not people. They're images or lines of text. It's kind of strange, isn't it?
Yes, but it turns out that it might have been something more malicious than that. I'll give you a tweet here.
Let's take a look.
This person has been translating some of the tweets put out by, like, Pixiv community, etc., which allege that this Pixiv term that was violated is Article 7 of the Terms of Service. That is the problem with use of posted illustration, but the issue that is happening here falls on Article 14.26. So I'm feeling that this is not about the illustrations posted, but about something embedded in the illustrations.
Yep.
So the leading theory now is that people were selling QR codes or scannable codes in primarily AI artwork, mass-produced, and that would lead to deeply illegal shit.
Yep. Now that is actually bad, but that's an issue, and that's something that they're going to have to address and crack down on. They're going to need a dedicated team to actually go through and sort that shit out, and that will cost money because it's going to take personnel time.
Yes, and it's also going to be an unwinnable race, because the thing is, before, this wasn't useful. Like, you couldn't draw a high-quality picture just to embed, like, a link to something illegal. You'd need a lot of artists, and you wouldn't be earning a lot of money on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now that there's AI art, well, anyone can generate pretty high-quality pictures super-duper easy with the many pre-made little instruction things that people have made. And then you slap in a code there somewhere that can be scanned, and voila.
Now, of all the things to predict AI art would be used for, I did not think that child pornography would have been one of those things.
You didn't think smuggling would be one of the first ones?
But apparently AI art is good at helping pedophilia, which is, again, that is not something I think anybody could have probably predicted, to be honest. That's just kind of fucking weird.
It was it's the ease of generating it, and once you've got the ease of generating it, you then have a data thing that you can embed something in, either in the background data of the image or in the image itself that can then be read and voila, you've got a way of transmitting messages from one end to the other. And with Pixiv's systems of allowing you to pay for it, you've also got a transaction system going on.
So now it's become some sort of illicit pedo ring.
Yes. Which is also one of the things that Elon had a lot of problems with, which, ironically enough, Elon seems to have almost killed the entire pedo side of Twitter in 48 hours after it had lasted there for like 10 years.
And thank God. But the issue is they're only going to move, so they need to be hunted.
Yes, because, well, it's a market, and there's demand, and there is apparently supply.
I do hear that there are actually dedicated people out there to actually hunting that shit down, so thank fuck for that, because those people need to be stopped and put to justice, and that shit needs to be cracked down upon until it literally doesn't exist anymore.
Yes. The problem is, though, this is now affecting legitimate people as well, because that's the problem.
Yep.
You have currently 55,345 works on Pixiv tagged AI art. So you'd have to go through 55,341 pictures in detail to detect anything untowards in there. And bearing in mind, too, if one code is discovered, they'll just use another code.
Yep.
You know,
they'll just move. And so they'll have to take in... Because when dealing with pedophilia online, back when I was an anti-piracy agent, we found some on a website. And what you have to do is you have to... Once you find it, you contact the local authorities. So it's like, okay, where's the domain base from? Is it Interpol, Europe, or is it FBI? And then you forward it on to them, and then it's their problem. Well, at least you hope they take care of it. At least you...
An optimistic hope.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the issue, too, is this can happen to any picture whatsoever. So if it's a big-titted onesan, that makes no difference whatsoever, which is why a lot of people have been reacting to the specific ban of specific things. Like, personally, I'm not dead, so I'm not a massive fan of bestiality. But it's like... At the same time, I don't mind people selling and buying it because it's a fucking drawing, you know? The dog in the picture is no more real than the lolly in the picture.
Yep.
And so they decided to ban very specific things, and this was probably in an effort to kind of calm down the credit card companies, because this is the issue as well. The moment Pixiv started taking payments, they became reliant on the credit card companies, and so they become reliant upon their morality and their standards.
Which is awful to think about, that payment processors have the ability to pull the plug on you, but that is the reality we live in.
Yes. And so there is now a wave of censorship sweeping across fucking Pixiv as, well, more or less an indirect consequence of the explosion of AI art. Now, I will say this. They have yet to implement any sort of censorship on what you can put on Pixiv. So it's not like the aforementioned bestiality is illegal on Pixiv yet. It is simply that you cannot sell it.
Is it? I did mess around with some of that AI stuff, and I found it kind of interesting that they actually have censorship on a lot of those AI art programs. If you try to generate certain edgy images or certain things or key phrases, it will not generate it because they are blocked. So they actually have already begun implementing censorship on that. I wonder if people have actually done a bigger study on what level of censorship we're dealing with there, because that's actually another interesting point.
They have, but people have already cracked that shit. Like, because it was an open source software, so that was over and done with the moment it was released. Because originally it was intended to not have any non-safe for work functionality. People have cracked that shit ages ago. There's enough of those 55,000 works have penises and vaginas to tell me that security system didn't last long.
How does the AI handle a vagina and a penis? As we know, hands are quite difficult.
Poorly, I would imagine. But hey, it's Japanese. Just throw on some censorship and voila, like some mosaic there.
Like some mosaic. Oh
there
my
you
god, that's terrible.
Yes, the dick might look like a third hand, but you know.
Also, some people in chat did say that when it came to like people embedding stuff into the AI images, they could just simply do it in other images. That's true. However, on these art sites, the reason why they can't do it is because art theft is such a big deal that if somebody takes someone else's art and starts doing that, that's an instant red flag. So they're going to have to A, develop some basic bitch art skills, or B, steal someone else's art. So it's not so easy to actually do, because the art community actually does look out for its members fairly well when it comes to that kind of stuff, and when there's an art theft, and when somebody does art theft and is stealing, that is pretty taboo, and you are basically run through the streets, as you should be, because you're a talentless hack riding off the coattails of someone who actually put effort in it.
Yes, so it's a good point that chat brings up there, but yeah, it's basically if you take somebody else's art, that is very easy to create tools to scan for. Like there are literally free tools on the internet, like TinEye, for example, that will scan the internet for the same picture. So if you were trying to sell somebody else's picture, odds are it would be relatively easy to detect and block that.
Yep, and they get
But
busted
if you're
all the
saying
time.
selling AI generated art, it's an original picture, so yeah.
Yep, AI-generated art is a loophole in the system because, well, the AI is not going to care about whether you generate it or not, because it's a simple algorithm. And so you can make as many of these generated art pieces as possible, and you can embed them with whatever you want, and no one's going to be the wiser because, oh, it's just AI art. Like, it doesn't... It's nobody's. It doesn't belong to anyone. So no one's going to try to look out for it.
The big thing, too, is, again, AI art is pretty high quality. Once you get the correct set of instructions, and there's already tons of pre-mades of that telling you how to do it, a lot of that AI art looks at a glance indistinguishable from regular, anime-style art. So it's very difficult to detect what might be used for nefarious purposes and what might not.
Mm-hmm.
And the code itself is also ridiculously difficult to detect, because all you need is a software on both sides that is programmed to look for a specific set of numerals or a specific rhythm, shall I say, so a specific sequence. It's the same idea with CD keys for video games, right? All you need is a software that can detect and generate that. And in that case, you've got a image that's maybe 8+ megabytes large. You could impart thousands, millions of lines of code in that, of ones and zeros, that software looks for. And it would be next to impossible to detect. You would have to have access to the tool itself to begin countermanding it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like there's a little link in the drawing that goes kitty porn here, click please, or anything like that.
Yeah, no. It can be simply overlaid, and there's no artist, so there would be no one the wiser, because no one's going to check on the piece. No one's going to care.
So it is a genuine problem for Pixiv, and of course the people who are going to be suffering the most are the legit artists. They're the one who are going to get screwed for it. Yep. I've seen chat mention a couple of people too who have allegedly had their stuff deleted, but as far as I know, there's no real confirmation yet. So it's one of those maybe, possiblies.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll need to see more evidence of that, and actual artists posting pictures of their accounts with images, and then be the next image is no images, and they're gone. It could be people, because the problem is a lot of people will say a lot of shit, and 9 times out of 10, you have to look at it and go okay, is this true, or is this people just trying to stir shit up because they find it funny? Because a lot of people, they get their kicks out of people being upset about anything. They'll say oh, the fucking this thing is dead, or this is the crash of this, and so you have to wait and see. So a little bit of patience in that regard, because if they are actually deleting artist stuff, then that's pretty bad. And what we're going to probably see is what's going to happen there is going to be an artist migration, because artists generally, when their stuff starts getting deleted without their consent, they're going to pick up shop and leave, because they put a lot of work into building that portfolio, all those art pieces, and watching them disappear in front of your eyes is probably infuriating, to be honest.
It is. Now, one last funny thing before we move to the Super Chats. Here you go, Kyle. Black Panther Wakanda Forever said to be banned in China.
Hold on, we're not done. I have another one. Oh, what's wrong with her face? Oh, that's weird. Humans bald always look weird to me. That one in particular. That jaw. Scary. That is quite the jaw. It's either the image or whatever, but it looks like it just sort of like juts out. Do you have any idea how much that bothers me?
Number one.
China number one. Banned in China for featuring openly gay characters. Base. No, I'm kidding. Fuck China, no matter what. Never, Barch. Simp for communist pigs.
Never
no matter
that.
what. Communists must be eliminated. There are no exceptions.
They're not communist guys. They're socialists.
Is there a difference? Don't answer that.
When
Because
it
in my
fits me.
eyes, when it fits me, you little arbitrary motherfucker. Also, I have articles too, you tard.
Well, go on then.
Well, hold on. We're going to do this fucking gay thing first.
Oh,
So-
it's not really much to it. It's just it's banned in China.
That's literally all you had to
And
say.
I think that's funny because fuck them.
I mean, at least there's a level of honesty there. So I brought a couple of video game articles. Get the gay people out of here. Get out of here. The first one I want to mention is nothing too crazy, but it follows in route with what we have seen before. Feral Interactive, the guys that have been porting the Total War games to mobile, have finally ported the last version of Medieval 2 to mobile devices as well, which is the Kingdoms expansion. All 4 expansions. They didn't cut them up separately, by the way. They ported them together, which is actually, that shows their integrity. So that means that I think what we can expect now is the next thing to be from Feral Interactive, I hope, if predictions are correct, based on what we know with Rome Total War Remaster, is we'll get a Medieval 2 Total War Remaster, which is actually kind of exciting. If they do it, of course, right, like they did Rome 1. And not fuck up the UI. Squint's eyes. Don't make it for mobiles.
But Kyle, this is old news.
It actually
How
isn't.
dareth you?
It literally was announced 2 weeks ago, but I couldn't bring it as a topic because we didn't talk about video games. The next thing I want to talk about is
Old.
the Age of Mythology announcement. So Age of
What
Mythology is
now?
probably the best fucking Age of series game ever. And they've announced that they're going to be rebooting the IP. We're going to get another Age of Mythology. Yay! Another RTS game.
Told? Retold? Are they remaking the remake?
There was a remake? You mean the HD?
That's close enough.
The HD is kind of awful, though. Ugh.
That is some old school fucking 3D CGI right there, my boy.
Yeah, it's not particularly fancy-pantsy. I think it's actually just touched up, like, models from the other stuff. But honestly, the Definitive series has proven that they're pretty competent, and I'm actually looking forward to a little bit of Mythos. Like, we can play as Zeus again. We can have the Atlanteans, the Norse. And
yeah, but will
maybe
Zeus be
leave-
black?
Maybe leave the Chinese gods out, because the Chinese expansion was kind of ass, and maybe want to gouge my eyes out. It was not very good. The other
Age of
thing...
Mythology was an alright little video game.
It was fun.
I wouldn't mind seeing more of it.
I would like it, because honestly, the Age of Empires games, they're alright, but they're not really my cup of tea. And Age of Mythology is more or less the same, but you got god powers and, all sorts of cool stuff. And, I really dig that, honestly. Throw in a little bit of mythos, you get some pagan, ideas and different monsters and minotaurs, and it just really spices it up. Very good. So I'm looking forward
Age of
to that.
Mythology Retold is a modern remaster of the classic RTS. So is it a new game or is it just a remake?
I'm not 100% certain because they've released very little information. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be Definitive. Which you familiar with what the Definitive series was? That's where Bill Gates basically is like, hey guys, what do you want? And people are like, can we have Age of Empires? And he's like, okay, whatever. And then so they remade Age of Empires 1, 2, and 3, and then they made a sequel because they rebooted the franchise. So I think they're going to do the same here. I think we're going to get an Age of Mythology, which is going to be more or less a Definitive, and then we're going to get an Age of Mythology 2. Which I wouldn't be surprised if that's the line of thinking they're doing. And the definitives have been really good. They've added co-op campaigns, they've added new nations, new campaigns with voice acting, and they're adding lots of more content to them all the time. So honestly, I'm actually pretty impressed with the Age of series and its revival. And I'm hopeful that this will spark other developers' interest because they'll see the money is there. And maybe we'll get some, more RTS games because of this. That's my hope. Call it a little bit of an optimist.
The chat asks, have they said updated for a modern audience? Because that's what they do with The Witcher. Yes, kind of. They've said updated gameplay, but not the audience part. So it might not be as bad as it sounds.
If Zeus is black, I'm going to not only fucking just be depressed. No. Let's just pretend that won't happen. The next bit of news we have is, honestly, this one I have a little bit of mixed feelings on because, I like the Callisto Protocol, which is basically a spiritual successor to Dead Space, and it looks quite promising. It comes out in a little bit here. But they did say that the Callisto Protocol will have some death animations exclusive to its season pass.
Some? Kyle, you lying slut.
What? What do you mean lying?
Some. 13.
Yeah, that's what it says. I'm reading the article out loud for the news thing.
13's a lot, Kyle.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. Patience. You have no patience. So yeah, this is something that annoys me because I was actually, I'm looking forward to this game and I want to stream it. But man, Dead Space 1 never had any exclusive death animations because they were always super horrific when you lost to a monster. You got fucked up. You know how you tell me about your hentai games and how you like to lose and get raped, right? Well, in here you don't want to get lose because you're not going to get some fun squeaks. You're going to get your face ripped off or something, and they're really cool. But that's really lame to me. I don't know. I think locking death animations in a game where the whole thing is the brutality and the grotesque nature of the horror game, and the fact that there's a season pass, I'm that's not a return to form, which is kind of ironic because this is made by the people from Visceral Entertainment, the guys that made the Dead Space franchise. EA is actually in the process of remaking the Dead Space game, and the remake for Dead Space looks pretty solid and has so far, from what we know, no season pass planned and no cut content. So it annoys me. It's come on. I expected Visceral to be the guys doing the base stuff, not the other way around. EA's doing the base stuff. What kind of bad timeline did we hop into? Where are we? Everything's backwards.
This is the future that you chose, Kyle. This is the future of DLC and microtransactions and season passes. We all chose this disgusting future. Because we didn't snap the neck of the first video game that tried.
That's true. We should have. The horse DLC was allowed to go unmolested.
We thought it was a joke. It was funny back then. Not so funny now. No, but nobody's laughing now.
Nobody is laughing now. Hurts my organs, it does. They're turning off one by one. The next thing is Barch and I both streamed the Sins of Solar Empire 2 game. And actually, I want to talk about this briefly because what astonished me by playing this is I was like, this is just Sins of Solar Empire as I was playing it. But instead of it being like a paradox thing where I was like, no, they fucked up or they were super lazy. Here I'm like, yes, that's all I want. Don't do anything weird. Just make it Sins of a Solar Empire. Now, the epic exclusivity thing makes my balls fucking hurt, but the fact that it's actually functional as a technical preview, and the fact that modders have already begun to jump ship, these, I think Star Trek Armada team, the Sins of the Prophets team, and I believe Star Wars Interregnum and a few others have announced some plans, I believe, if I remember reading from ModDB, that they're intending to begin preparing to mod the shit out of this game. So that's actually really promising, We're actually seeing a resurgence of real-time strategy games. And what was strange is Stardock, or some of the people from the Ironclad Games, said that this game was not going to be possible to make. So I wonder how Epic comes into the mix that made that a possibility. What do you think? Is it that Chinese moan
balls, aren't you? You enormous Epic simp.
I fucking hate Epic. But you got to understand, Sins of Solar Empire is like Supreme Commander. Listen, Supreme Commander and Sins of Solar Empire are my two favorite RTS games of all time. I can't say no. Like, they got me by the balls. I need it.
Chat,
Genuinely.
all I will point out is that he says, I hate Epic, but...
Yes, I hate Epic, but they have Sins of Solar Empire, and they're holding it by the neck. I literally can't. It's like literally if my fucking left nut is on display, like I gotta have it. Like it's mine. It needs to be mine. There will be compromises. For sins. And only for sins. Because it is a sin after all. Pun.
He is weak, chat.
And you're weak too, because you did it as well. You have sinned as I have sinned.
My principle has always been Epic is stupid, but also adorable.
I hate you.
Epic is an awful fucking store.
It is
It's
so
still
bad.
awful. Years later, it's still a shitty storefront. I don't understand why.
I don't know
It
why.
still sucks. It's weird.
Like, it's so bad, like, it's on Origin levels. Like, it just reminds me of Origin. It just doesn't work properly. It's awful to look at.
Here, let me just fucking, real quick, actually take, like, a snippet of the Epic store page just to illustrate how awful, right? I'll send you this.
Let's take a squeak peek here.
As soon as I find it. Yeah, there it is. Right. There, sending it over.
Upload faster, Mr. Speedy Internet. There we go. Oh, that's awful.
Look at that.
I could just open Epic, but I don't want
That's
to.
Epic's storefront. Like, fuck. What? First and foremost, is it ugly?
I'm going to open up GOG so chat can see GOGs and Steam. We'll look at both. I'll have them side by sides, okay? Take a look at this, chat, okay? You look with your stupid little chat eyes. All right, so we're going to open up the store page. Boop. Like, look at the layout of, like, okay, look at this layout. You have some games on the right here, randomly scattered, like Goat Simulator, Fortnite, Fall Guys, Fortnite again for some reason. Then you got Black Friday, Spotlight, and you got, like, Library, Unreal Engine. Like, GOG's isn't perfect either, but their store page is much better. You got, like, the top stuff, the important things that they want to show you. And then as you scroll down, different features. Now, remember, there's it's the fucking Black Friday sales, which, by the way, now is the time to pick up video games, if you're going to do it. And then they got, simply games for you, best-selling, new, and upcoming. If we check Steam real quick, like, let's open up Steam. Come on. Come on, Gabe. Come here, Gabe. We got more or less the same thing. We got the special sale going on. Oh, neat. Some stuff on sale for real cheap. And then as we scroll down, we have the... Oh, God. I hate when they do these special things. Yeah, there it is. Popular new releases and all new releases. It's not the perfect time to compare because we have the weird stuff now where it's all... the layouts change. But more or less, like, it is easy to read and digest. And then you have Epic, which is just a clusterfuck of just ugliness. It's not pretty. It's an ugly storefront. It's kind of shit. You got Discover, which I have no idea what that means. I think that's the home button for the store page. You got Browse, which is the basic bitch search. News, which is, okay, simple enough. Library and Unreal Engine. I like how the one game you have there is Sins of Solar Empire. That means you uninstalled the Weeb game you made me play. What was that? Genshin Impact.
Oh, no, it's still there.
What?
That's just the quick play symbol you see there.
Oh, you little weeb. Oh, god damn it. It's just a shitty little store page, isn't it?
It is.
It's ugly. It reminds me of Origin. But instead of it being orange, it's black.
And after all these years, it hasn't gotten any better.
Nope. All that money, all those exclusive deals, for what? For what? I'm still gonna buy the games on Steam. Like, I'm gonna use Steam over Epic any day, unless it's to cover some exclusive gay shit. Yeah, I know. He did install Genshin Impact, and he made me do it. He held me at gunpoint. Feel bad for me. Hashtag feel bad. Hashtag feel for Kib. Yeah.
It's probably the Twitter problem, where Epic has 1,000 engineers hired.
Oh my god.
Not one of them do a single thing.
Do they have no vision whatsoever? Like, Jesus Christ. Like it's just the most like dry thing to look at. Like it has no design. And this you snapped this picture. This is their Black Friday sale cover, right?
It's
like Steam has this like really cool art piece they got commissioned for this, and they got like all this layer, so it's themed, it's thematic. GOG has more or less the same fucking like idea going on here. Like they've got this nice little layout, their special Black Friday sales, and it's like, oh, you know, you're excited to pick up some stuff. You already own this product. You can't receive another copy of it. I've never seen that before. That's for their like special deals. Which, by the way, that special deal that's going on right now is Vampire Masquerade: The Bloodlines, which is $7. That's a pretty good deal. You'll need to patch that, by the way. But that's one of the better RPGs out there. Bit clunky, though, to say the least. Wouldn't you agree, Barch?
No.
How dare you?
Bloodlines plays perfectly well, so long as you never enter the elevator.
So long as you never enter the elevator. Wow, Barch. I did enter the elevator. I had to use a console command to no-clip back into the right spot. It was awful.
Pretty stupid of you, wasn't it? Why did you enter the fucking elevator call?
I didn't know that, nine times out of 10.
Everybody knows that the elevator doesn't fucking work, Kyle.
That was the first time I played that goddamn game, and I was like, going to elevator, and my elevator, everything don't work anymore.
Kyle's a noob, chat. That's all you should take away from this.
No, you're the noob.
Like, who the fuck goes in the elevator? Seriously.
Nerd. Look at this nerd. Disgusting. Sweaty. Slimy. Stinky.
Sadly, all of the games that I'm waiting for are not out yet, so there's nothing much on sale unless I want to pick up Farming Simulator for some weird-ass fucking reason.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I hear it's a remarkably chill game. I played it with a friend, and I about had an aneurysm because my ADHD riddled mind couldn't handle the fact that it was so slow. I was like, yes, you just harvest the grain and then you take it to the silo. And I'm like, yeah, but like, no. I don't think I will. Instead, I tried to flip the tractor.
Well, Kyle, we can always play it multiplayer.
By the way, if you weren't aware, you should definitely check out the esports scene for Farming Simulator games. It is absolutely nuts. Like what they do there, where they actually compete for farming. Like this is a thing I didn't want to know about, and now I know exists. It's awful.
Just like the elevator.
I don't like how I have to be a vampire in it. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like vampires to me are kind of gay.
They didn't used to be.
It's not a bad like game though. Like narratively speaking,
vampires didn't used to be cringe.
Actually, I put it. Gameplay is kind of potato, but the narrative is very good.
Gameplay is not potato either, Kyle. You judgmental little monkey.
Those
it's
boss
just that
battles
doesn't work.
Yeah, that's the gameplay. You stupid. Esports farming sim. Yeah, that's a thing. That is an actual thing. I'm not kidding, chat. You can go and look it up. It's ridiculous how intense and sweaty they get. It's kind of tragic. MLG corn harvesting.
Combat doesn't work. Most of the weapons are pointless. There's that scene with the werewolf. Some minor things. Nothing big or problematic. No.
Game is fun though. Story-wise,
everything is fine.
Story and atmosphere. Specifically.
Frostpunk 2, that isn't out either. Nothing is out, Kyle. These sales are useless to me.
They are. Like, the only thing I see remotely interesting is Ready or Not, but it's not even ready. I'm just laughing.
You said they ended up not cucking.
Yeah, that's what I was told. So they said publicly, like, oh, we're so sorry. And then in the development stuff, they just kept doing it. It's like, okay, so they just lied? I mean, based, if true.
Fine. In that case, I'll pick it up because it'll be fun. So I'll pick up Ready or Not Satisfactory.
Oh, God.
Because those are things we're going to play at some point anyways.
Alpine Fox has submitted some fan art.
It better not be fucking perverted, you little dirty Brazilian.
I'll send it to you before I pull it up on stream. I hate you, Alpine Fox.
I still haven't paid you, and I have every opportunity to never pay you.
I like it. I like that idea. Just don't pay him. Make him starve.
What even is this?
I don't understand.
Well, on the bright side, it's not perverted, so that's good.
Okay, I'm pulling it up. All right, chat, prepare yourself. For those with squeamish bellies, avert thine eyes. For those bold enough to look, I command thee to kneel, brony kips. And, like, Arch is, like, got, like, a Puggle's arm, and, like, there's some arms coming out of his back. And for some reason, Aerith is a fucking pony. Cringe.
No, that's not Aerith, that's you.
No. I don't use my real face online because I use my mascot. That way, any fan art or fan fiction stuff, none of it happens to me. I'm safe. And yes, I do hide behind women.
Theory you have, but it has been disproven repeatedly.
That is why I had a chat vote on what mascot to have for the channel. They elected for the stupid little cat girl.
Don't believe him, chat.
I believe me. It literally happened. We have evidence to suggest it happened because it actually happened on my channel.
No, you don't. You deleted that channel.
I didn't.
You did.
It's in the deleted playlist, I'm pretty sure. Or not the deleted, the hidden.
Channel to report the video he said Negro in.
You say that on my channel all the time. So
Arch comes in.
Arch is like, Kips, like, you know, like, it's really bad out there on YouTube, so be careful what you say. Shows up on my channel, I'm going to be called Negro Mancer. It's like, God damn it, Arch.
Yeah, but you thought that was funny.
It's like, Kips, I don't understand. Your channel just doesn't grow. It's almost like I keep putting flags on it. It's almost...
Sargon thought it was funny too. Sargon played one game of Darktide, and then he was like, "You know what? I'm really tired, and I need to go to bed." I'm like, yeah,
I'm really tired, and I need to go to bed. Sargon Rooney. He's saying it. Was he tired because the game was boring, or just because he saw your name?
It's funnier.
It's funnier.
If he quits after that one game.
Fair enough.
But now, after Kyle has simped for some epic games,
wow.
It is time for Super Chats. With Bigger's Brain is saying, I just got a 3D printer and have actually been having fun with wargaming now, since I don't have to break bank for a cool new army. Do you think that GW and other similar companies will adopt to this, or will they just keep fighting it? Well, I'm sure a similar company will adopt to that, but I'm also equally sure GW won't. Listen, like, this is the thing. GW has no incentive to switch over to 3D printed models because you're still paying them $100 for a hero character. Like, why the fuck should they knock off their prices when you're willing to pay them the prices they're asking? It's not like they have any competition. Like, what, Mantic Games? Like, pfft. I'm sorry, Mantics, but...
Damn. Wow. There goes the Mantic sponsorship. It would have been worth $12.
They're in England. I'm pretty sure they're woke too.
We could buy some chicky nuggies with those $12, you know.
But like, we rip on Mantic frantically, frequently. That's the word.
The issue is
because they rip off Games Workshop a lot too. There you go. But dumb tish.
They do. Like, the problem with every tabletop company out there is they make pump and dump games and nobody wants to commit because committing is a risk. And I get it. Committing to a singular IP is like strapping yourself to a rocket that might just crash into, you know, the ground. It's like strapping yourself to a North Korean rocket, you know? You know it's going to go up for a bit, but you know it's going to come back down.
Yes. So GW will continue to charge ridiculous prices for their items and will not adopt to the market because they are the market. Literally. Gondrak says DeSantis will get cockblocked, by establishments like Trump did. Trump has more national following than DeSantis. GOP leadership spent $200 million on DeSantis' race to undercut Trump and boost DeSantis' profile. McConnell may own him if he runs now. No, I do agree. Like, DeSantis is not quite the second coming of Jesus Christ either. Like, he did have some big advantages. Like, he had an enormous spending budget in a state where the Democrats basically didn't spend a single dollar because they figured Florida was a sure pick, etc. So we'll have to wait and see how he does on the national stage. I think he'd be better off being Trump's running mate, at least for one cycle, before trying anything himself, but we'll see. There's also the question of what skeletons he has buried in the closet, because he's a politician, and there might be horrors in there. Who knows? Laying it out there as a possibility. God knows how many disgruntled secretaries might emerge from beneath his desk. It is a long and proud tradition in the United States, after all.
True.
Where did the button go? Dalixus says, what worse to call Bart? Swedish Red Agent. I read that one. The spelling was so bad I was confused for a moment. Troy Needham says, Henry Cavill would make a good Cypher's Kane. Hopefully GW gives us something that doesn't make us hate them more. See, I disagree. Henry Cavill is way too Chad-looking to play Cypher's Kane. Well, basically, you'd have to scare the shit out of him and then see what kind of expression he'd make. Because the entire point of Cypher's Kane is that he's an enormous coward. So you need somebody who can do coward well.
He lucks his way through pretty much everything.
Yes. Lucks and balls. As he says, it is better to charge a Carnifex with a broken chair leg than lay down and die.
Fair enough.
You would need somebody, oh god, I swear to god, what was his name? Was that it? Yes. If we could just get a time machine, a de-aging machine, and hit Casper Van Dien, like 20, 30 years back in time, that'd be perfect. He would be an excellent Cypher's Kane.
If only we could trust anybody to make a modern anything. That's the problem. They've gone woke. Now we have Erda and Neoth.
We now have Erda.
Yeah. The main character, by the way.
And then, just to be conscious about it, we'll re-age him to play old man Cypher's Kane. And be like, but why?
So listen, be old.
The role requires it. Poor bastard. And yes, it is Cypher's Kane, not Caiaphas Kane. Fucking retarded. Marksman of 117B says, you guys should hear Midnight Edge's theory about Disney's panic move with the CEO. The episode is Meet Him 331 at the 114 mark. It's gold. It is more of your conspiracy theories. I don't know this guy. Midnight Edges. Kyle?
Midnight Edges? You want me to give him a Google? Is he a YouTuber?
If you don't know him, it's fine.
Midnight Edges.
Edge Night. Edge Night Edges. Now,
is it called Midnight's Edge?
It's a very different thing.
Wow, that is so weird. It took me to my channel, but it's like not my channel. That's YouTube's borked. Look at that. That's my channel's icon on top of the. Okay, YouTube, you're on a little bit of crack. Is this the YouTuber? Like he does reviews and stuff? Showrunner Out of Touch, Star Wars Andor. Yeah, sounds pretty based. The googly eye thing. God help me. I hate that. Makes me want to gouge my eyes out a little bit.
Poor Kibbs.
Bob Iger returns to Disney.
Troy Neenan says, Apple buys Marvel, then recession hits. No one buys new phones. At the same time, all their Chinese workshops get shut down. That would be funny, but we'd also get a Marvel movie about Steve Jobs, which I don't know if I want.
Steve Jobs. That'd be great.
I think it would be a very forced superhero movie. Marksman of 117B says, the Disney finances started in 2018 with a lawsuit that was settled this year. Also, every project released under Chapek was started by Iger. Yeah, no, I don't think Iger is going to be any kind of savior. I think, if anything, it'll just get worse. At least Chapek was steering the ship steadily down towards the waterfall, which is where I want the ship of Disney to go.
Well, the thing is, I think realistically, like with corporations like EA and like with fucking Activision, all these assholes, is they're too big to like sink on their own. It's going to take far too long, and they're going to have far too much time for somebody of competence to get back in power. Which, honestly, if Disney were to become competent and actually produce entertaining media, like at least that would be some sort of victory. It'd be like what they did to us, where they subverted us from within. We do the same thing to them. We subvert back and take back our stuff. But that's assuming that this Iger chap hasn't changed, because it's been a while since he's been at the reins, and time has proven to us time and time again that a lot of people, a lot of writers, as time goes on, they change with the times too, and not always for the better.
He also, Marksman 117B also says, the only work Chapek managed to do was park-related. Well, he managed to close them, which was a very good thing. I enjoy it when Disneyland is closed.
Beautiful.
Troy Neenan says, would like a list of who was shadow banned. That's probably a very long list. I would like to see Elon actually put out that information, though, because, well, he's sitting on the databases right now. It would also be interesting to bring up the actual proof of the shadow banning, and bring Jack Dorsey and Zuckerberg back to Congress and go, so, it appears you lied to us. I believe that's punishable with 16 months of hard anal rape in prison.
Sounds pretty based.
See, people think that you get raped in American prisons as some form of accident. No. It's part of the correctional system. That's why they call it the penal system.
They're like, oh, my Angus hurts. Maybe I'll be a better citizen. Maybe I'll be...
It's entirely possible. Like, Sargon is on his death penalty arc right now, where he's like, listen, if we kill the criminals, they can't be criminals anymore, which, to be fair, is correct. But if we rape them, they might not commit any further crimes either. What's more inhumane, huh?
Listen, the less humans there are, the more stuff for the rest of us, right? That's how this works,
Don't worry, Kyle. Anal rape rarely produces babies.
Rarely?
Yes.
You're like, there have been on some occasion pregnancy. Oddly enough. It's like, how even? It's like, do not think, simply accept.
That is where the term butt baby comes from, Kyle.
That's horrific.
Black 1917 says, Squeck and Hail Arch Christ, our Lord and Savior. Breed Kibbs, as always. Glow in the Dark says, seems the feds and Dems are butthurt over losing Miami Hispanics. The FCC approved Soros groups buying them out. Twitter all over again, stifled dissent against left hegemony. Well, the thing is, I haven't really seen Twitter screwing over the left actively. I've seen them banning them for doing things that are against the terms of service. But what's that saying? When you've been in power for so long that equality feels like oppression? That is seemingly the truth. The Grizzly says, what happened to Star Wars? Which franchise is more permanently destroyed by the sad things that call themselves, in quotes, people making the product? Star Wars has received more of a public beating, but it's also a more resilient franchise overall.
It doesn't take much to recover. And even the beating it's getting, like, sales for the old movies are still up, as they always are. Because people still buy the old shit and the old merchandise and the video games. I think the same can kind of be said for Warhammer. Like, people still buy Dawn of War 1. Like, it still gets occasionally a decent amount of sales. And people are being introduced to the IP. But I do understand what you mean. Like, it's been much more public because Warhammer lacks the drive for a lot of people to criticize it because it's still kind of a niche hobby. Even though it's grown bigger over the years.
Warhammer is far more niche, and so damage to it will be far more permanent and far more severe. And Warhammer Plus, as I mentioned it many times, has already been financed for like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years because it's a very long-term investment to try and show off how they can monetize their IP, etc. But that is bleeding them cash. and after all of the corona and the increased energy prices in particular, I'd be surprised if GW's finances were doing particularly well right now.
Yeah, that's true. Like, smaller companies like GW, by comparison, like, they feel it a lot more than Disney can, because Disney makes up their money in other areas and recuperates their losses, which is a problem. That's also why these corporations are more likely to change from within sooner than they collapse. GW might not have that ability, necessarily, or have that strength.
Gunfox61 says, Art, you should give Kibbs the lore of Nick the Catboy lover. He's just dying to know.
I don't think I am.
I think I'll give that to Slutimus, because he can give him the full deets.
Ooh, no, I don't think I'll. Listen, my headphones' battery are low. Sad.
There are a good amount of the old alt-right out there who are very fond of men's buttholes. Interesting.
It's a weird art.
Oh well.
But fair enough.
As they say, every hole's a goal, Kyle.
It's quite terrible. Yes, very terrible.
The Grizzly says, Styx has a theory that it's meant to run spoiler for Trump to make sure he loses in 2024. I don't know how strong of a claim that is. Interesting, though. I'm presuming that's referring to Kanye, because I gotta admit, I've been thinking something a little bit along the same lines as well. Like, Kanye West is going to run, and he brought Nick Fuentes to dinner with Trump. Like,
That is a very...
Did he bring some Semtex to place in his bathroom as well, by any chance?
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's a bit... That is a very strange move, to say the least.
Like, hey, Trumpster, meet this guy. He likes cat boys.
He's like, what's a cat boy? You know he's a boomer, too. Or worse, he knows, and that's why he brought him.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. At least, you know, he can disavow Kanye and not be called a racist for it, because Kanye is no longer black, so that's a benefit, I guess.
Oh, don't worry. The left will immediately switch. Or no, maybe that'll break them. They'll be like, oh no, cannot compute. Must call him racist, but can't.
Barbarian Ara says, Dev admitted in the stream that he used to drunk his chips into his coffee and eat them.
Dunk his chips. And that is fucking
Please
awful.
reprimand the otaku man. He needs help learning what is and isn't food. No, I agree. That's retarded. And he should be beaten for it.
God, you know what?
Like dunking your chips in a liquid. Like, you're just peeling off the seasoning and putting the seasoning into your food?
That's
into your
awful.
coffee? Like, what the hell?
The only thing you dunk into coffee is a donut, and it's a cake donut, specifically. That is it. And
no, Kyle, you don't dunk anything into anything. You don't
actually,
mix food.
Cookies are definitely... See, Bart's like, no, food, if the peas touch the steak, I'm throwing it in the garbage.
That's fucking weird. He's like, I'm going to slobber over this thing. No.
It's all going to mix in
donuts
your
are
belly.
mostly overrated, okay?
You've never had a good donut, then? A proper
donuts are
pastry.
Overrated. No, see... I love pastries when I'm on a vacation. I turn into a real like fucking cake munch when I'm in different countries because I become fatter. Like this started in Serbia where there were like restaurants like dessert restaurants every 5 feet, and so I would just sit down, eat something at one, and then I'd haul my carcass 15 feet to further down the street, and I'd eat something else. And now that's what I do when I'm in foreign countries.
That's never good.
No, it's great actually.
I think you'll be punished.
I don't think so.
You don't dunk your cookies, Reeve guy?
No.
You little savage.
Also, Kyle, we're having a meetup in England next year. We're going to Games Workshop.
I'm poor.
That's fine. You can come anyways.
You can come. Well, I guess I'll start swimming.
I won't judge you.
I guess I'll start. The Atlantic Ocean.
So we are having a theoretical plan, chat, to have me, Sargon, V, Count Dankula, everyone else who wants to join as well, just show up at Warhammer World one day and see what happens.
shouldn't you keep that under rugs as a secret? But you
I want to start stirring the pot already.
You're just like Sargon when it's like, all right, Sargon, remember this password for the server is, invite your friends and family. Like, this is a private, like, Arc server. And then he distributes it into a Discord server with, like, 30,000 people. It's like, Sargon, you
Plus, it'd be excellent.
No.
We get a nice amount of our friends there too, and we just walk in there chanting like Warhammer is for everyone.
They're just gonna kick us out.
Later, the British police show up, like, they're terrorists, sir.
To call my dad and be like, so, like, I'm in prison. Why? Because I went to Warhammer World. What now?
Kyle, come on, it's the British police. They haven't arrested anyone.
Is that where the dawn of war came from? That's what I'll say.
The British police have one argument. Like, they walk up to you and go, like, look at my hat. And it's like, wow, it's a tall hat. Don't look in the hat. It's like a hypnotic device. Rambam 3000 says Larry Elder should be VP. What is an elder, Kyle?
Oh, what?
Larry Elder.
No idea.
Kyle is not very American. I'm sorry, chat.
It's not
John McKenna says maybe Hemsworth should go back to his root and remake Pony Club. I would quite enjoy Chris Hemsworth in a My Little Pony costume.
I mean, as long as it's somebody else, that's always a win.
I think it'd be pretty fucking hilarious, frankly. Particularly if he didn't like it. Like, he'd just walk out on set looking all despondent, like in a pony costume. All the other ponies would gather around him and go like, yeah, at him. He'd just look sad and disgusted at the whole thing. It'd be kind of great. Like, I used to be Thor, now I'm this thing. Ponies could cheer him on. Yeah, I think I like this. I have a scene in my head. Space Ray Engine donates 20 Czechoslovakian things with no text, so thank you very much, sir.
Czechoslovakia hasn't existed. You're making the same mistake I do, because I played too much Transformer.
No, it's a Czechoslovakian money.
Czechoslovakia...
I haven't recognized it as disabandonment, Kyle.
Has decided not to be one nation anymore, because like the Slovaks...
I don't recognize Slovakia as a nation.
That's true. I think it should be Hungarian, honestly. Hungary could look better as a weird tumor that extends up into Poland.
Prague is a pretty nice city, though. I don't mind Prague. It's got a little stupid church on a hill and shit.
The Bohemians, they have a nice land. That's what the Germans thought, too.
Hashtag make Prague German again. Vrokani says, honor the veterans of the Finno-Korean Hyper War.
What?
Finland and Korea could go to war. It'd be funny.
That would be a very interesting conflict.
Round about the same technology level.
Oh, fair enough.
So John says, you can't be morally good and be a lefty. Well, you can think you can be morally good and lefty. And that's all that matters, truly. Viking Kiwi says, when I go on Pixiv to follow a new artist I found, squints eyes, I just keep pressing the follow button for all the artists they keep suggesting. To be fair, the suggestion feature is actually kind of good because it'll show stuff that is actually similar to the thing you saw. Like, that's a neat feature. It's how YouTube used to work back in the day. It's like, hey, you look like this. Maybe you like this. Defather Blaine says, so by this logic, am I guilty of terrorism for the no Russian COD part of the Spec Ops, the white phosphorus part? Kyle, help.
Come again? I'm responding to somebody in chat who's asking me something.
Defather Blaine said, so by this logic, am I guilty of terrorism for the no Russian COD part or for the Spec Ops, the white phosphorus part?
Ooh, the white phosphorus scene was actually very good in Spec Ops Line. Spec Ops Line, it's on sale. It's a game that came out that's like another desert modern warfare game. Meh. But it's actually quite a fun little twist in that game. You should definitely check it out. Won't spoil anything. And I don't want to answer that question because it'll spoil too much. That was fun. Check it out, chat. You won't be disappointed, I promise. If you like war crimes, that is. Smiles.
Spacer Engine says, Arch, please enable all of your own 2 streaming somewhere. Rome 2 streamings. And Uncle Ware just praised Proud Link. Thank you. I found them both educational and hilarious. Rome 2 streamings.
You streamed Rome 2?
No.
I haven't streamed Rome 2 in ages.
Probably not.
That's when I had a black Aerith as like a thumbnail that I drew. That's been a long time.
Wow, you fucking racist.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it?
I've reported you to YouTube.
Why would you do this?
For racism, as I just said.
That's not a good reason.
It is.
No, I don't think so.
You still called me a soulless blackface.
Listen, I said you had a soulless little blackface. You forgot about the little part. Yeah. At least get it right.
That's racism.
That happened on, what was it, the Dark Tide stream? Yes, because he looked at me.
Happened in real life.
He looked at me. He turned around, looked at me with his character called the Negromancer, and his soulless little eyes stared at my character, my big Ogren. And as I looked down at him, I'm just like, that is the derpiest little soulless, like, black person I've ever seen. His eyes empty, blank, his expression hollow, and the hair on his head was of a girl's hair. Like, it's just weird. And there's also a weird bald spot in the top center of your head, which is bothering me every time we play that game. Like, I just keep staring at it like, that is weird. It's just like, it shines. It's like beckoning me to thwack it or something.
Well, your desire to play Dark Tide is appreciated for grinding purposes.
I did get the heavy stubber.
Filthy fetishes.
And the heavy stubber was the Ogrins. So fuck ever playing anything else. Like, I was like, oh god, who gets the heavy stubber? No, not the fucking human dude. The Ogren gets the heavy stubber.
I wonder if there's a way to figure out what weapons, what class gets.
I wonder if there's a guide properly up. I know they're going to be adding, was it 2 more new levels again? There's also going to be a release of a new boss. Finally, a demon boss from the looks of it.
Wow. Demon boss.
Demon.
Wow. Tarded.
It is. Snargle.
Space Ray Engine says, also, please Shogun 2 Fall the Samurai. Just publish those videos again. Thanks.
That's a good one.
They're probably full of racism.
Yeah, well...
Maybe I'll stream the games again at some point.
You should. Honestly, do like a Follow the Samurai stream. Follow the Samurai is really good. And there's also some really good mods for it. It's a solid Total War to date. Definitely check it out. It's got fucking cannons. Armstrong cannons are the best.
Oh, there is a lance gun with rapid fire. That's a veteran thing, isn't it?
Oh, for the veteran class?
No, the Psyker gets it too. Fantastic, because I would love a las gun with auto fire.
Yeah, some of the weapons, now that I'm getting to the higher levels, are actually getting interesting. Like, the early game of Dark Tide is awful because it gives you, like, the ass guns. And while that makes sense, that's fine. The problem is early game is, like, 8-9 hours of gameplay and grinding. It's like, fuck me. And now I finally have guns that are fun. At least I have guns that are fun. Like the heavy stubber.
Far too long.
The shield for the fucking Ogren is also fucking great.
So John says, those deaths are for an expansion or DLC content.
Or maybe, okay, like special bosses. Okay, so that doesn't upset me that much. Because if it's like, okay, then DLC is like an expansion pack. It adds in a new monster, and the new monster has like a cool animation when it kills you. But the one thing that concerns me is Season Pass. Does that imply that the game doesn't have a complete story? So we're going to play this game, and it's going to end with like a cliffhanger, and then we got to wait for the next fucking content patch? Because episodic releases can work if the developer follows through. Valve. They fucking didn't. Still left on the cliffhanger. Dicks.
Valve appreciates you giving them money for nothing.
Cheeky.
Fuzzybeard 3 says, Epic's problem is they forgot who has to turn over their money. Use the paying customer. Oos? Oos.
Oos?
Oos.
What's oos?
Oos.
Oos. Stop that. You're hurting me. Organs are shutting down.
Lord Comes to Spartan says, in case anyone wants it and doesn't own it already, Koikatsu Party is on sale for the first time in at least a year, lol. Koikatsu Party. Isn't that porn game? Yes, it is. It is that porn game.
Okay.
Where you can make anime waifus and then touch them inappropriately.
I mean, fair enough. And if they're your waifu, how is it inappropriate? Uh-oh.
Go. Stop that.
Trying.
Rangi says, late happy Thanksgiving. It's a heathen holiday. We don't celebrate that here. Stefan West says, just a quick reminder that Excel has an esport part Yoit. Part export esport part Yoit. Syntax. Good. And Excel is a very old video game and does indeed deserve to have an esport scene. An active one at that. Zunion says, Evil West, Arch/Kibbs. Cowboys are gay, though.
Wait, is this that new Eastern game where it came out and like you're a cowboy and you shoot stuff?
Yeah, but you're cowboys, though.
Cowboys can be kind of cool, like Wild West thing, but it's like a weird science fiction thing. It's made by, I think, Capcom? I'm not sure. An Eastern company. Because it definitely has that Eastern flavor design to it. I mean, hey, man. Like, sometimes the East does produce games that are pretty fun. Like, look at Earth Defense Force. That was pretty fun.
Cowboys are still gay, though.
Wow, rude. The Wild West stuff is good.
Sorana says, last I heard, vampires were supposed to represent the female fetish for noble evil, historically anyways. Right? Because Bram Stoker's The Dracula was not... I don't remember that book being particularly feminine, frankly. Kyle, you're the most feminine person here. Do you find vampires attractive?
New. Also, I got a DM. There we go. Pop that up. There's a video.
We have disproven it.
This isn't from that super chat earlier. And if you ever need to get a hold of me, chat, you can contact me through Arch Discord or my Discord. Pencil Kibbs on mine, and I think just Kibbs on Barch's. Here we go. This is the video that he was talking about. Strange World about to bomb as a cap Disney's Big Week, featuring Cameron Pasha, who's very wide-eyed in the top left corner. He's very excited. The problem is, it's been a little bit of time. I lost context for this, but I assume this is in regards to this channel that you wanted to recommend. Well, there you have it, chat. Oh, yeah. Very generous donation.
Might Shamed says, Kibbs, if you do a stream, if Empire at War, don't play the vanilla or fuck expansion. Just go straight to the mods like Awakening of the Rebellion.
Oh, yeah. So Star Wars Empire at War has some really cool mods. If you ever want to check it out, it's on sale, very cheap. It's a mediocre Petroglyph RTS, but the modding scene, and Petroglyph has been helping the modding scene, so it's pretty base to them. You can check out Fall of the Republic or something, the Thrawn era, I forget what it's called. Those two mods are really, really good. Also, Mark, man, I'm not going to play the other stream on our stream, because technically that can actually get us flagged, if I remember right, with how YouTube's copyright thingy works. So we got to be careful. But this is the time point in which you wanted to talk about, and it's apparently at 1 hour and 14 minutes is a breakdown that happens talking about Disney. Interesting, we'll have to look at it later.
Tyler says, please understand, Sargon is on Euro time. It was late. Or not, it was just shit. Yeah, both theories are equally likely. Mark James says, GW will fight 3D printing and go like Blockbuster. Oh, we can only hope. Blockbuster's death was rapid and painful. Mark Jane also says, GW fought... God damn it, English, Kyle, that's your fault.
That's not my fault.
Elsie Sorana says, hey Arch, look up Hero Forge. They actually provide the ability to download and 3D print characters you design. Yes, I have heard about that. The custom character things is kind of neat. I do believe they've also made the combat wheelchair, though, so fuck them.
Barch hates him.
Viking Kiwi says, Kibbs, did you see those failed AI art I DM'd you a while ago?
Yeah, they were pretty cursed. They were. I mean, if you don't tweak that AI thing, like, it can make some really horrific monstrosities. That was messed up. It was like, show me a family of 5, and the wife is pregnant, there's a father, and there's a daughter, and then the daughter's also pregnant. So it's like, oh, that's where the 5th child is. Okay. Yeah. That's quite fucked up.
Unironically, the AI might actually be great for making monsters because it has no human context to it.
It just operates as a series of algorithms, and it takes other art and combines and mashes it together to create sort of something similar to what the parameters are.
Mr. Twisted Frenzy says, any opinions on the new God of War game? Good, bad, gay, other? Gay and other.
Arch doesn't like console games. I'm going to give it a shot at some point, because I'm going to do a playthrough of the entire franchise. I kind of like God of War as a series, but to me, I always like the fact that Kratos was just sort of a murder machine and kind of a bad guy, like, because he was wrong, but he also did horrific things to people. He's remarkably cold. But apparently they want to do like an arc where he's like reconciling with his past and all the horrific things he did. If done right, that could be interesting. Also, the voice actor is played by Christopher Judge, the guy who played Teal'c in Stargate, and Christopher Judge's voice is fantastic for that pick, and he's also just a great actor. So you can't really fault that part, though, Birch. Birch, I don't know who Christopher Judge is.
If I Google him, I'm sure he's touched people at conventions before.
I hope not.
Mark James says, Art, have you seen the Norman YouTube video on Orc discuss the Austrian painter? Orcs discuss the Austrian painter. No, it sounds retarded. That must also be the point.
Maybe, yeah.
Maximum 117B, YouTuber Midnight Edge, vid title A Strange World, about bombs as caps Disney Big Week. Yeah, that was the video, we brought that up. Grimlock Steve donates €5. Thank you very much. Space Ray Engine. Yes, increased energy prices has to make a number on plastic miniature figures. They are notorious for being very energy dependent. They are. And since GW quite recently built out their factory, they probably still have some debt hanging over their heads too. Could this be the thing that cracks their little itsy-witsy backs? We can but hope. Elysis Sorana says, hey Archkibs, 2 people just dropped from my D&D group and I can't get anyone else to sign up. I'm definitely desperate enough to spend $20 to ask the 2 of you want to join for some 5e. No? Oh well. Hashtag BreedKids. I don't even have time for my own D&D at this point.
We've started a lot of projects on the side, both of us, and our projects take a lot of time. However, if you're interested, if you want to pop by my Discord, there's a pen and paper section of the thing called Tabletop, and you can ask for some people. I saw some people looking for an RP, so I might be able to find somebody. I think, Arch, you kind of have a similar place there too, so you can pop by and see if people are looking to play games. It doesn't hurt to ask. And there's no harm in asking.
Like V does, and just get AI bots on Twitter to roleplay for you.
That's very tragic. Oh my god. God darn V. Fucking degenerate.
He is fond of those Twitter bots.
I will never understand his obsession with those things.
Space Ray Engine says, I'm glad Semtex is known as far and wide as Norway. Czechoslovakia made. Czechoslovakia is a new word now. Proud expert of Semtin Town.
Make Czechoslovakia part of Austria again.
Make Czechoslovakia great again.
It's Slovakia. Slovakia. Those Czechoslovakians. Oh, they're a bit special.
They also have a retarded habit of eating a lot of paprika, though, so I don't know if I like them.
Not racist, just don't like them.
They also have, like, food that is put inside of, like, a piece of bread, and the bread is hollowed out, and you fill it with soup and shit, and it's like food. Like, I don't know about that. Pretty weird.
Oh, like a bread bowl, right?
Yeah. Wow, you know it too. Wow,
They're at the Renaissance Festival, they have those. They're pretty okay, but I honestly prefer the smoked turkey legs. Those are better. Oh my god, we celebrate the Renaissance in America. Did you know that? That's pretty good. And you should check your state for the Renaissance Festival.
There was no Renaissance in America.
There wasn't, but we celebrate it, so get over it. And it also tastes got lots of food. The pickle guy always makes dick jokes all the time. He's like, hey, check out my pickle. Your lady will love my pickle. And I mean, you know, maybe she will. It's a good pickle. Just like, what the fuck? If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't.
I should come to Canada. There's a Tim Hortons every 15 feet. What's that, Kyle?
Tim Horton is like a person. Listen.
No, it's not, Kyle.
I'm terrible with names. Let me just check. Tim Horton.
cafe and bake shop.
It's a hockey person.
It's a shop, you dumbass.
Yeah, Tim Hortons.
Wrong with you?
But it's named after a person. Toronto. Canadian. Savages.
The coffee's bad for you, though. We don't like coffee. It just makes your inside go weird. And then you shit weirdly.
What? Your tummy don't like coffee?
Tummy don't like coffee. Coffee's bad for you.
Tummy don't like coffee. We learn a little bit more about Bjorch every day. No wonder why he doesn't mix his food.
Poison.
He's like, my tummy is very sensitive. Rubs his belly, caringly. Tragic.
Lord Compass Spartan says, I literally just realized the brony art that is still on screen is an Elden Ring meme, lol.
Yep, I did realize it later. It's the fucking... It's the guy with the arms and he's back. It's like, command thee to kneel, brony cubes. Because it's the main antagonist of the game. Right? Mm-hmm. I never beat that game. Because A, I'm too bad at those games. And 2, I don't like those kinds of games. Because it ties back to 1.
You possess the stamina of a snail.
Ties back to 1. But apparently there's a co-op mod. And honestly, if there's co-op, if I die and I feel like I contributed because I absorbed damage for my team member, then, that feels sort of like a win, in a way.
It's an Elder Scrolls game, Carl. They all have co-op. What's wrong
Elder Scrolls game?
Yeah.
Come here.
That's what it fucking is.
Come over here. Come, no, come here. He's like,
listen, that's what it is.
It's not an Elder Scrolls game, you monkey.
It is.
You're fucking gonna get a beat down. Mr. You love
dragons in
Elder
it and it's got swords.
It's got swords. Then by that logic, then fucking Lord of the Rings is Elder Scrolls. She's like, yeah, basically.
Bill Cosby barbecue sauce donates $10. Thank you very much. Bill Sosby's barbecue sauce. Does that have rape juice in it? Who knows? Space Ray Engine says, we also don't recognize Slovakia as land. There you go. That was correct.
Yep.
Glow in the Dark says, arch pastries are made of mixing things together, so how do you eat it? Do you split it up on a molecular level? It's fine with bread and things, because you have spread on bread.
Spread on bread?
But nothing liquidy bad. Tyler says, I got Spec Ops The Line for $1 once, played it for a few minutes, got bored, and quit. I later learned that I actually won the game. Correct. You're not supposed to play the game. If you play the game, you become a war criminal like Kyle.
That's why you got to play through it, because at first it does start out kind of boring and kind of forgettable, but it isn't until you get like halfway through the game when you're using white phosphorus that you're like, this game's actually pretty cool. Narratively. Gameplay-wise, it's an okay cover shooter. Which at the time, there were a dime a dozen.
Without mixing things together, okay? You can have all kinds of delicious pastries without any of that nonsense on it. Yes.
Also, Arch's definition of a pastry is a piece of bread with cheese, meat, and another piece of bread on the other side. Now, I'm going to let that sink in for the rest of chat, because they've all had very different images in their mind, and now that realization will upset them.
That as well, but sometimes I have cinnamon buns.
Now, that is more of a pastry. Like a real pastry.
Today I'm going to have buns, which is not cinnamon buns. It's just a bun with a raisin inside of it.
Ew. Raisins are like shriveled up dead bugs.
They've got 2 different kinds of like raisin buns over here. Because Norway basically has 2 brands of everything and nothing else. Because we have such ridiculous tariffs on everything, we only have local produce. And one of them is the bad buns. The bad buns are these soft, squishy kind of moistury things. Like, it feels like you're eating a swamp's asshole. And the raisins inside of those are the squishy ones, the disgusting ones, the ones that you bite down on, and they just fill your mouth with raisiny gooiness, like you're eating little flies that have somehow infiltrated your food. The other one is the good kind, however. It's nice, solid, thick, delicious bunniness, and it's got these little dried proper raisins that, go well. They crunch in your teeth. No. They're delicious.
Raisins are sad grapes. They're grapes that are dead. Like, disgusting.
Grapes are awful. Watery, squishy, flushy. Terrible. We don't like them. We don't like them. We do. I wish I lived in a country where they sold more like, this was the great part about Prague and Germany. They sell like fuck tons of pastries just at the supermarket, and it's always fresh because there's like 5 million people living in the city, all jonesing for the same fucking piece of wiener bread.
But
there was a fantastic... Okay, so this is going to be the worst part about going to England. None of their food is good. All of their food is shit, literally. Because in Germany, I found this beautiful little breakfast restaurant thing. Oh, so good. Huge breakfast for like $8 with beans and eggs and toast and ham and delicious. Delicious. And fresh fruit on the side too. So good.
What about English breakfasts? I hear theirs are good too.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that is good.
Have you seen an English breakfast? Okay.
It's got like little one. Doesn't have like English muffins. English muffins are nice.
No, they don't, Kyle. They've got shit like hash browns, which are like rotten dead sausage things.
Hash browns are not supposed to be sausages. Hash browns are supposed to be potatoes. But
then you get like a fatty, disgusting, half-formed little sheep sausage and a couple of tiny little poorly made eggs and like a couple slices of terribly undercooked bacon. It's awful.
Oh, gooey bacon. Cringe.
Yeah, gooey bacon.
Ugh. It needs to be crunchy.
It does. No, English breakfasts are pretty awful. On the bright side,
they need to be
it too can be served in a pan, so savages like yourself who don't have fucking utensils might be able to eat it.
Oh my god, you're gonna bring that up here.
I am.
Listen, it's not... Sometimes when I make stir fry, I would eat it out of the pan. And I haven't done that in a long time. I have plates, I have fucking forks, I have utensils. For some reason, Arch thinks that I don't... That I just eat it out of my pan.
Chat. He eats out of the fucking pan and he uses a spork.
I don't use sporks. I don't even own a spork. This is fake news.
Frenzy says Matt Damon's. That's what pointing out your fucking spork. It's a Damon.
I don't have a spork.
Space Range and says Darktide. Pretty much everyone reported massive crashes. Did you experience that or other bugs? So far, like recently, the game's been pretty decent. Yeah. But when I streamed it the first time, or is it? No, it's the second time, and it was into like the open beta, the pay-to-play beta. It crashed. Like I played like 6 missions. I only got rewards for like 2 of them because the rest crashed.
Oh, that's awful because you crash and then all that progress is lost. My biggest problem is the grind. So, Left 4 Dead, right? You play the levels and they're fun, and if you crash, you can just reconnect, but there's not a big deal because, it doesn't really matter. Because no XP and progression system. Every weapon is unlockable. You just have to find it and, get good. And Darktide, you have to grind to unlock the basic weapons. And so if you crash or you disconnect or you have a bad team and you lose a game, that means that your progression is slow and your access to the guns that are fun and interesting is going to take forever for you to get anything fun and interesting. And also, you need to play on the easy levels at the beginning because rank 3, you just don't have the equipment. Because, like Arch mentioned in our stream when we did it, it is literally a gear check like half the time before you can do a difficulty thing. If you don't have the gear for it, you can't do that difficulty. And so, instead of it being like, Left 4 Dead, where you could just start the game like, you know what? I'm going to play in the hardest difficulty. And you could do that. You could do that and you could win, and it would definitely be within reason. In Darktide, that isn't really the way, because they actually lock the higher difficulties behind level caps. So in order to even access the higher difficulties, even if you want to try your skill and test your skill, you can't even try that, because the game won't even let you.
Disgusting.
It is disgusting. Gated content with gear difficulty, it's the dumbest thing. Yeah, that's what I hated about Vermintide. Because Vermintide's fun, it's got cool characters, it's got, interesting levels, but the fact that the harder difficulties are locked because you need gear checks in order to play on the higher difficulties, that's just not fun. Like, I just want to have a challenging experience, but I don't want to have to grind to get better equipment to have a challenging experience. I just want to have a challenging experience out the door. I paid fucking $60. Let me play the game. It's not a free-to-play game, so why is the grind mechanics? It's not an RPG, so I don't even fucking... Why? Cancer.
Jade Roller says, did you know there is a 40k Battle Sister VR game? Yes, I know. It released and nobody ever talked about it again, so I presume it was fucking shit.
I looked at it because I have a VR system, and it didn't. It's not something worth really looking into, honestly. It's just fairly meh.
Marked Ashamed, and then YouTube scrolled. Says, the ending to Dark Tide should be you go to a room and run into an Order Mouse Inquisitor with a squad of Grey Knights who declare you tainted and are there to save your souls from chaos. Yes. Instead, you are a slave to a woman who you constantly kiss ass with. With all of the women, in fact. Half of the dialogue in the game is woman powerful.
God, you know, strong. I really respect her. Even though, you know, she might not care about our lives, but she's such a strong and powerful woman. And the other party members like, yes, strong woman, I agree. And like nobody disagrees. Like these people are being sent on suicide missions because of this person, and all they can do is kiss her ass. It's the most disconnected thing. And apparently they got some fucking tarded ass black library author to write the fucking story. Like some fucker, I don't know. He's apparently pretty good at writing, but I beg to differ because the fucking writing in Dark Tide is
library
awful.
author has ever written a good game story. They just can't.
They're
good at writing books, but they definitely don't put their best into the games.
They went on and on about how like, oh, the story will change as you progress through this like story, and like there'll be characters and they'll talk to each other. The game talks at you. None of what it tells you is interesting. Your characters like never say each other's names because they don't have names. They're not characters.
Though I do enjoy the fact that my Negromancer was once a police officer.
Apparently. Yeah, your guy goes
I
on
wanted to see if there was a way to make it so that he had like been sent to jail because of an abuse of force or something, because that'd be funny too. Like, yeah, so this one time I kneeled on this guy's neck for too long and then I got fired.
As if they'd fire you in the 40k years. Like, good, one less fucking person to feed.
Icthulu says, Arch and Kibbs should have discussed id Software versus Mike Gordon. Fuck that company.
Oh.
I have heard some rumbles about that, but it's all too...
I know a little bit more.
Internet drama-y for me to really know.
It is kind of important because Mick Gordon is a really good composer. He composed the music for Doom 2016, which has helped what propelled it into fame, despite them originally actively working against him on what he wanted to do for the music vision. In the second game, they forced him to make the tracks faster, and they weren't ready. And not only that, but they like downgraded the music. Like the music quality is awful, and they just butchered his work. And then they had the audacity to blame him for it. And then they basically contacted him behind closed doors and were like, yeah, you should just be quiet about this. Here's like a paycheck. Shut up and don't ever speak about it. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so that's when he went to Reddit and literally just info dumped everything. Because they were shafting him. They were running his name through the mud. They were blaming him for everything that they had fucked up on when it came to like the fact that the music wasn't ready and wasn't very good. And that's the issue. So, yeah, you can actually go look it up. Because he has, like, all the evidence and stuff has been dumped online now. Yeah, it's an absolute mess.
Bethesda are bad people.
Yep. Actually, I think it was ID, which is the guys that make, Doom and stuff. Because Bethesda is the publisher. I don't know if they were responsible for id or who. Should I get Titanfall 2? I'm going to quickly interject here and just let you know that the servers, last I heard, are kind of broken, so the campaign is fairly short, so if you can get it for cheap and you're going to enjoy the campaign, the multiplayer used to be a true winner, but I would advise caution and research.
Gay.
I mean, fair enough. EA is gay.
Mark James says, for the Send Kibbs to Games Workshop HQ and Bail Fund, call it Operation Warpstorm, where demons of chaos invades the mortal realm. We'll set up a crowdfunder for Gibbs, where it's like we pay airplane ticket and then nothing for where he'll stay, so he'll just have to sleep on one of those anti-homeless benches in the park, the ones with spike.
One with spikes? Oh my god. At least they'd speak English there, because Arch originally was like, let's meet up in Germany. And I'm like, I don't know German. I'll show up and be like, Sprechen and they'll be like, Sprechen. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying to me, Savage. Please speak a normal language.
I actually fucking love the anti-homeless benches, because it's such a brilliant example of our modern day society. Where we're like, oh my god, these poor people, we must help them. But god damn it, they're sleeping on our fucking benches.
We must murder them. Well, they fixed the Titanfall 2 servers. Well, that's good news, actually.
Glow in the Dark says, Odin's mannerisms and voice reminds me of a stereotype of a Jew. Was expecting him to say shalom. Huh. It's disgusting. Why? Damn, I'm looking up anti-homelessness things, and some of these are fucking magical.
It's like, how do we get rid of the homeless question?
Okay, that's retarded too. When you're inclusive but still hate the poor. Yes. There you go, Kyle. Look at that. It's beautiful.
Hold on. Oh, that
is
adorable.
Says Odin's from New Krato Games. Yes, we figured it was from the God of War 1 thing. Viking Kiwi says, Stalker is much scarier than Metro. You can kill 2 groups of zombies, check if everyone is dead, spend 5 seconds looting 3 of the zombies. Stalker is a good game. I did like Stalker. It's adorable, if a little bit retarded as well. There's one scene where the script takes all of your stuff away and leaves you naked and scared, but the script isn't intelligent enough to check whether or not you reloaded the game, dropped all of your stuff outside the place, and then walked in naked to be robbed for nothing. That was
pretty clever.
Viking Kiwi says, and when you look over at the other zombies, you see a monster standing 5 meters away that instantly pounces you and kills you. And the fact that it wasn't scripted makes it so much better. I really fucking hated the invisible things. They were...
They sound spooky.
I don't like those. Because they're all like creepy. Like, I don't like things I can't see.
Bart's scared.
They're gay. Wojciech Zlezga donates 19 Czechoslovakian money. Thank you very much, but with no text. Czechoslovakia will be a nation again. The South will rise again. Theoretically, it's the South for me, therefore. Czechoslovakia.
I'm glad you've embraced it.
Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia.
Slovakia.
That's where Chewbacca's from.
Slovakia. I also didn't like the midgets in Stalker. They were annoying too, but at least you can shoot them repeatedly in the face. Boycott Warmer Plus says, our food is terrible to create character. Well, that's one excuse for British food. God, it's awful. Like, the only food I eat in England for like a week straight whenever I'm there is just hamburgers. And it's just, it's cheap patty hamburgers too, and I'm just like, well, at least it tastes like meat, I guess.
I mean, that's something.
Terrible nation. Glow in the Dark says, you have to mix water with flour at least to get bread. Just eat the flour or whole grains to avoid liquids. See, it's dry though. And if it's dry though, it's fine though.
But why dough?
Because mushy food bad. Space Ray Engine says, Arch, I remember you acknowledged the pig in a blanket, or whatever it pronounces, as a severely underestimated dish, and I concur. Yes, pigs in a blanket are delicious, but they need to be the snack foodie pigs in a blanket, the ones with tiny little sausages. They can't be the ones that's just an entire sausage with a bit of bread around the middle. That's retarded.
Oh, like those croissant hot dog things. Oh.
It's like a good hot dog has more bun than dog.
Normally, or it has other toppings and stuff. But the meat
If
is
the dog
good.
sticks out of the bun, you need to throw it in the face of whoever made it.
It must fit neatly within it. Flush.
It must also have that dried leek thing, because they're delicious and crunchy. And it can't be... Okay, people wrap things in bacon. I despise this. Bacon is delicious as bacon. If you put bacon on something, it's grease on butter. It's terrible, and it should be ashamed of itself.
Well, I don't mind putting like bacon into like a BLT or something or a sandwich, but it normally like what I don't like is when you mix it in stews or soup. It's like there's bacon in the soup, it's all gooey and sad, and the flavor has been desaturated because it mixes with everything. Not everything mixes well, and certain flavors like disintegrate when they make contact with other things or get snuffed out by other more potent flavors.
No, but the superior food to fucking hot dogs is a good pulled pork sandwich. Like, hot dogs are rarely that delicious.
A good hot dog is fucking fantastic, but a meh hot dog is off. Also, corn dogs are great. But yeah, pulled pork sandwich is great. Pulled pork. Pulled pork is good in almost anything, though.
Glow in the Dark says, I read that one. Glowy! Glow in the Dark says, act like you care. Cause homelessness with bad policies, then add spikes everywhere to stop them from sleeping in nice neighborhoods. Profit. See, again, homelessness is one of those unsolvable problems. I will say that. Because in Norway, we have literally entire programs where people go around looking for homeless people, specifically to give them places to stay for free. Like, in a modern day society like Norway, homelessness is a choice, or a mental disease, which is another problem as well.
Yep.
But the idea of adding, like, spikes to benches, like, it's so churlish. And I pseudo get it, because, you know, people live there, and they see the dirty, filthy, homeless person on the street. And, hey, I get it as well. You know, he might be a drug addict for all you know. He might be a petty criminal. God only knows. But call the police instead and have them come and try to help him. Because that's what you do. If you call the police on a homeless person, what the police is supposed to do is be like, hey, buddy, do you need help, you know? We're going to bring you to the station. We're going to check if you have any family, you know, and make sure that what he's doing is registered by the system, shall we say.
The other thing...
Now, there is also a risk that the police will come there and just beat the shit out of him, which happens in some countries. Not Norway, thank you very much.
Yep. Well, one of the biggest problems...
in that case, you already live in a savage, horrible place, and you should move.
The biggest problems with homeless people is A, nobody cares about them to help them most of the time, and B, the mental institutions that should be looking after these people, like the safety nets for catching people like that, and they should be taken to a mental institute, because often these people have, you know, traumatic issues or problems reintegrating with societies. Unfortunately, a lot of, you know, veterans fall prey to the homeless lifestyle too sometimes, because they have a hard time readapting to you know, society. And this is a problem with also the military complex as well, where the idea is to train them to fight and kill, but not to reintegrate them into society, because they don't really care. They spend all time training them, but they never spend time, you know, getting them ready to get back into society, because it's a hard thing to come back to when you have such a regimental life too. And for those with mental disabilities, the problem is the wokies are responsible for this, because they are like, no, these people don't have a mental problem, that's just who they are. And so it's like, okay, so instead of putting them in a place where they can be looked after and protected, now they're just wandering the streets and put a danger to themselves and also a danger to others, because they don't really know what they're doing. They should be looked after. This is your problem. And it's all Barch's fault, champ. He's responsible.
Instead, we make spiky furniture.
Yep, instead we do that. Which honestly is the cheaper alternative.
That's the thing. This is purely a problem of Kyle's creation. Because Norway doesn't have homeless people. Like, we're just a country full of rich people. Like, poor in Norway means that you can't afford to go on vacation abroad. That is literally the definition of poor in Norway. I'm not fucking shitting you.
But you're also, like, rich, though. You're not your average. You're not an average Norwegian.
Kyle.
Yeah, but you're like
that
the
is
son.
My fucking point.
You're the son of like a major robotics company, like dude. Like you got like lots of months. Lots of months.
I'll fucking send you this because the chat probably thinks I'm fucking kidding. All right. So this is from a newspaper article in Norway about poor people. Right. So these 3 kids here are poor children. The things, the little posters they're holding up from left to right says, "I'm not going to summer vacation this year." The middle says, "I can't afford football shoes." And the one on the right says, "I don't want to see where, I don't want people to see where I live." This is poverty in Norway.
So, well, I'm sure there are some Norwegians that are sad and dead and dying on the streets. I hope.
I'm not.
Barge. All right, chat. Here's what we do, chat. We
I'm
vassalize.
not.
We do what you taught me to do in Terra Invicta. We take over Norway, we squeeze and drive the money, and then we'll give you your homeless problem. Squeeze. Join the EU.
A ridiculously rich fucking country.
We must destroy Norway.
We lack problems, and that in and of itself is a fucking problem.
That's true. Chad points out that Norway doesn't even have a proper military. Their military is basically covered by the United States. They've been given a lot of things. We should have you pay.
We've got at least 12 dudes.
Yes, and your general said that you had like maybe a week tops of resistance before you collapsed Russia. Which I thought was funny.
But that's because we know you retards are going to spend all of the money for us. Like, why the fuck should we bother?
We should make you pay.
We've got a health system to run. You fuckers can take care of the military.
See, this is the problem in my country, and we do have problems. We need to charge them. They need to pay us for protection. You want U.S. military defense?
No, Kyle, you get to be the charity because you are also the worst people in the world.
No,
in the meantime.
No, we are no. We're the hegemon.
I'm going to show you a picture here. Guess what that is. Tell me what that is, Con.
That's like that's a sauna.
No.
Okay, well I tried. Okay, well, I tried.
That's a toilet.
Why would you have see-through fucking windows that are partially see-through? That's just
because
weird.
It was more expensive, Kyle. That's why.
Also, the slopiness of that, like, that's awful. Like, honestly, guys...
That's because it's more architectural, and it cost more, Kyle.
You guys, look at this. Look at this architecture. Look at this shit, okay? The Norwegians need to be put in their place. These mountain monkeys have become weak, soft, and supple. They used to raid people, believe it or not. They used to have a hardy life. Now they're fat.
Here's another one of our fucking toilets, Kyle.
You're fat, is what you are. You're fat and spoiled, and you can literally just see in there. That's the worst part. Like, I don't want to walk down the street and be like, see Arch in there, and like he just waves at me, and I'm just like, hi.
Well, what you want, frankly, is irrelevant.
It's like, listen, you can come in here and take a piss and a shit real quick, you know? It's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
And the thing is, too, those 3 see-through walls, they're like special optic paneling. So you wave your hand at them, and they become foggy. And it costs so much. It costs fucking millions to put up a fucking toilet. No way. We have too much money.
No, what we need... Listen, they do. Chat, it's time for America to squeeze the pastries out of these Norwegians. They have no military. What are they going to do? Tell us no?
Yeah, we own your oil. We're just going to blow up the oil fields, and then you're going to fucking freeze to death during winter.
Firstly, only a part of our country will freeze to death. The other part will be fine. So it's a sacrifice.
The British will have to protect us because they'll freeze to death too.
Yeah, but they're just British. Like, what are they going to do? Throw crumpets at us? Like, fucking Christ.
I did like that one Lotus Eat episode where Sargon was like, why is our gas prices going up? We're not dependent on Russia. Smiles in Norwegian.
Norwegians are like, yeah, Spritbongs, remember that time you didn't come to our aid? And like, yes.
Yeah, you ran away. And now that the prices of gas around the world increases, guess who's gonna fucking pay?
The Norwegian revenge.
As we sell gas to Germany instead, like, yes, revenge.
Norway is such a little country, chat. Like, honestly, their annexation would be a beautiful thing. Into Sweden, I believe.
Norway's the best country. Fucking America by comparison. Jesus Christ, some backwater forgotten about colony. Oy.
Shut up, you little penis-shaped nation, you.
Actually, if you take away like Finland, it kind of looks like a dude with an enormous penis. It's funny.
Finland is just the scrotum, okay? He's like, why is the penis head split with the Sweden bits? Like, I don't know, man. A wood chopping accident.
Wojciech Zleska says, if you can't pronounce my name, just call me Ivan. No, Wojciech. Hungarians are okay, but Austrians and Germans are no-go. And Marksman of 117B, see trailer for the indie game Choo Choo Charles? That sounds pornographic. It isn't. It's a monster train. That's weird.
Choo choo.
That is weird. And Glow in the Dark says, Norway has, 5 million people and massive oil fields, Saudi Arabia of the north. Also, how much diversity does Norway have? They need diversity. We have more than we want, frankly.
What are you going to do about it?
But yes, we are a nice and wealthy nation because we haven't polluted ourselves with Americans yet, and long may it remain that way.
Not for long. Partridge time is coming, chat. Believe it or not.
Well, I did watch the trailer for Choo Choo Charles now, and that was certainly something. Something very fucking stupid, but certainly something. See, it's not necessarily a bad idea. Put a horror game on literal railway lines so that you can't escape as easily. Because that's one of the problems with many horror games. It's too easy to run away. You have too many options. Whereas if you severely limit the player's options, like in Five Nights at Freddy's, odds are the horror part of the game will be far more pronounced. It is not necessarily a terrible idea. And finally, Space Ray Engine says, how is inflation treating you Norwegians? Our inflation isn't actually that bad. It's manageable. It's kind of shit like everywhere else. Our main issue is energy prices, which is skyrocketing like everybody else's energy prices skyrocketing. I saw the little Biden brag sheet that was given out by the press secretary as well, which was rather beautiful. Where it's like, listen, these are Biden's key achievements, and one of them is inflation is moderating. Like, oh, good. Not stopping, not reversing, going slightly less slowly. Or going slightly less quickly, more correctly.
It's, it's slowing down. Maybe it'll, stop.
That was pretty retarded.
It was, and still is.
And with that, White Hawk says, Kibbs, you don't understand how America works. You are saying that colonies should pay to be colonists. Historically, Americans had some issues with such things. I mean, go ahead, and then Europe will break off from America. If you want that, go ahead.
Yeah, fuck it. No, I want that. Fuck Europe. Like, seriously. We're defending them for what? What are they doing for us? Nothing. They haven't done, that's the whole problem with NATO. That was the one thing I liked about Trump. No, seriously. They're not a colony of us. They never were. They're building their stuff,
you're a colony of us.
You're being fat Europeans and farting loudly, and it's gross. And we're like, ugh, disgusting. And you know what? Fine. You can fart loudly by yourself, and Russia can do whatever they want. And they're like, no.
Luckily,
please.
We don't have to worry about that anymore, because Ukraine has already eaten half the Russian army.
That's true. Russia's not really a threat. You can just annex Russia yourself. Like, we don't even need to help you. Or Norway's like, I will take...
Novgorod must be a nation again.
Novgorod will be a vassal state of Norway.
And Marksman of 117B says, smuggle Rosa to Norway. Hashtag PegKibs.
Oh, good thing I don't live in Norway.
Oh, there's Rosa in chat too. Didn't see you there. We barely pay attention to chat when we're talking about random stupid jinx.
Yep, we're just more like...
But there is Rosa. It is a VTuber. You should check her out.
She's open, chat. Wink, wink. Or free? No.
She is open.
What does that mean? We'll let you
She
decide.
spreads herself widely on the internet.
Ooh, that's one spicy noodle.
And Glow in the Dark says 25 Celsius here in Florida. What winter? Maybe Florida should be nuked again. Like again? Hold on. What do you mean with that? It's the same thing in Terra Invicta. Sometimes nukes just go off.
These things happen.
You should see Kyle's game. Like he's in 2030 and his planet is already like 5 degrees Celsius hotter. Like, oh.
Listen, we wanted it to be tropical everywhere.
And Viking Kiwi says, why don't we just buy Kyle's state? It's Wisconsin, isn't it? That'll be pretty cheap, I guess.
Wow, you know what state it is, but you pick a state
Ohio?
that's neighboring. And now you're just circling around that area. He's like, what? I don't know. Yep, see? He's doing it intentionally. He's trying to dab.
Illinois?
Wow, I'm surprised you even know what that is.
Georgia?
Okay, now we're going a little far away. Like, I think I'm going in the wrong direction.
I quite like Georgia because it's a nation too. Like it speaks to the hubris of Americans. Just be like, we're a nation inside of a nation.
Little countries inside of each other. I mean, that is actually how. So for European context, like, there's the federal government, which is like this big fat thing. It's like, hey, we're fat. They connect things together, right? Then there's the little states that are like, we're technically nations. They have their own armies. Granted, they're a bit potato.
You were technically nations up until 1865.
Listen, we still are. We just have a little less rights now.
A little less, right? No.
A little bit more integrated than we'd prefer.
A little bit less. You have no option to leave this federation. Like, listen, we still have some sort of independence. We just can't leave.
We just can't leave. Yeah, basically. Hey, it's nice because the states stopped shooting each other. Like, there were state skirmishes where states would fight with each other.
I think we're through them all. So, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for your super generous donations. And hopefully, we will see you all again next week. Till then, have a good day.
Bye.